Hello, welcome everyone to the 24-hour live stream. We're going to be starting today with Aishwarya Srivansan. We're having just a little bit of technical difficulties right now getting her onto the stream. This should just take just a second, and we can get her rolling here. Let me get her on the stream. I think I might have sent the wrong link. So we'll be starting here in just a second. Really excited. Oh, there we go. There we go. Amazing. Okay, that worked great. Okay, now I know exactly what I need to do. Okay, I was a little bit panicky there, but hey, welcome, Ash. How's it going?
Doing well. I am here with my cup of coffee.
Yeah. This is the beginning. This is the beginning. We're 1 minute deep. All right, only a lot of minutes to go. Yeah. How's your Thursday going? This is what, May 22nd.
Great. It's been great. I don't know if you've remember that I recently joined a startup and we have a major launch coming. So I'm just extremely excited for this. There's a lot of planning and stuff going on. So lot of activity, and it's very good.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, startup life is crazy. I know how that is for sure. It's very interesting to see the different balances between things. And I think one of the things that a lot of people are interested about here is startups and AI and the future. And there's companies, like Cursor and Windsurf and all these companies out there that I know for me, in my company, I'm like, wow, now things take half as much time. And I see it.
Yeah.
I see it firsthand as a CEO where I'm
Yeah.
like, this is gonna mess stuff up. This is this is not like this isn't just it's kind of like the next level after Google search, I guess. I'm curious what your thoughts are on those companies and where that's going.
I just feel again, I definitely am not like a sociology or like a human mind researcher, but at least what I have seen things change in the past, and what I've learned from some of the books that I've read, which sort of covers how AI history has changed, and like how the industrial revolution has changed mankind and the way we work. The way I see it is, sure, there are some companies who are looking at it from like a very short term lens, and they think that, oh, having tools like Cursor or like ChatGPT or like all of these AI tools which are at your disposal and available to you at like $20 per month, it's going to be cheaper for me to continue doing what I'm doing with probably like 1/10 of the cost and 1/10 of the team. That's a very short myopic view of like looking at things. The way I see that things would change in a longer run is, we can do more things in lesser time and more efficiently. That means we'll have more bandwidth to do more innovative stuff, which took probably 10 years for us to accomplish. Like things which used to come from like Google DeepMind would take 10 years to come to life, right? That time span would reduce, and that's the positive way for me to look at how things would change because of AI.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think a very interesting example that I've found in my business is 9 years ago, 2016, I was working for the US government, doing a lot of NLP work and entity extraction and entity resolution, just working with text data, right? And one of the things, I've built an auto grader where it's where students will submit their assignment and then AI will give them a grade automatically. And
Mhm.
I don't know, thinking about I think that if I built that with the technology from 10 years ago, I couldn't. I think it's doable. I actually think it was doable 10 years ago. It just would have taken a year,
Yeah.
but instead it took me a week. Right. And it's okay, that's
Yeah.
a massive acceleration. And I'm totally with you on that. That there is this kind of this idea of near term pain, long term progress.
Yes.
And I think we're seeing that with a lot of these companies where it's Microsoft laying off people, everyone's kind of laying off people right now. And they're trying to grapple with this new reality of okay, how does this change things? Where do we need to be reinvesting and where do we need to be pulling back? Because it's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's hard to know, right? It's hard to know where that's going to be, where that's happening. So what does Fireworks do? What is Fireworks all about?
So Fireworks, in the simplest way to explain it, it's the fastest inference engine out there to run large language models and other generative AI models. We support every single open source model out there, and Yeah, we were the first to support DeepSeek models. We were the first to support Quen models. We were the first to support Llama 4 Maverick with the 1 million context window. So that's what we do. We have, I would say, nailed inference optimization. So we have been able to like serve models at very, very high speed and high quality and minimal cost compared to the competitors that's out there.
Yeah, I get that question all the time around like how is data engineering going to change, right? And what is happening in that space? And like one of the things I have a theory about is that like there is this whole idea of like, okay, if you own the data and you own the model, right? Then like
Yeah.
all that stuff like context building and like kind of making models more grounded and more rooted, like do you have any thoughts on like where these data roles might be shifting, like either data scientist or data engineer?
I would say every single role is shifting towards how do I use AI models and how do I have this like AI mindset. And I'll just give you a simple example, like the way you saw things differently 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was doing an internship with Microsoft and I was in their ML team building chatbots and using this framework called bot framework, where you had to define a lot of like things like intent, entities, and then you actually like go about building out the entire chatbot. It was very stateful and it didn't use any sort of like large language model. It was still very naive in terms of what states it can take, what are the directions it can take, and it obviously had a fallback option. But when I look at that from 10 years ago to now, the way the chatbot has changed, if I want to build a chatbot for my website, it'll take me like less than 10 minutes to do that, because I can just pull up one of the already deployed model APIs and endpoint and just like build that out. So I think that's what I'm talking about. Like the speed at which we are able to innovate, plus the ease of use at which we are able to innovate has drastically changed. And any single developer, any single like DevOps engineer, data engineer, or even like financial analyst, quant, whatever you think about, everybody needs to understand that how can I leverage AI to do something that I'm doing. It's not about you to change your profession and be an AI professional. That's not what I'm trying to say, and I keep repeating this on my LinkedIn. Like people book these mentorship calls with me and I'm like, hey, how do I become a data scientist? And I'm like, why do you want to become a data scientist? If your assumption is that the only way that you can be in the data and AI space is by becoming a data scientist, that's not true. So
Oh yeah.
every single profession would come to this point where they're like, how do I use data science and AI and like these AI models for whatever I'm doing? And I'll share a very, very relatable example because I'm doing this right now. I'm getting some interior work done at my house, and this contractor of mine, he's amazing and he's lovely at what he's doing. He's very visionary about like the things that he wants to put together. And obviously like he saw through my huge bookshelf with like a million AI books out there, and he was like, so what exactly do you do? I was like, mate, you gotta sit down for an hour and then I'll explain you what I do. And obviously he has heard about AI, right? Like he's using social media, he has heard about all the AI tools, he has used ChatGPT. And he was sitting together with me and he's like, how do I think about designing people's interior using AI? How can I use this VR experience so that I can give people a vision of how things are going to look like in their homes after doing it? There
Mhm.
are 3D rendering models right now, but then it takes forever for them to build it. So using AI, can he be more prescriptive to do that and do it in a shorter time, right? And that's the mindset that I would recommend people to have, no matter what field they are in, is to think about how can I use this tool to make my life easier or to make myself better at work.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like I think a good example that I have that opened my eyes. I have one that I give in my keynote, and then one that was more recent. Like so more recently, so I have this query editor on Data Expert that like you can run queries with Snowflake, you can run queries with Trino, and I already wrote all that code. And then one of the things like 2 3 weeks ago, I want to add BigQuery because I think BigQuery is another like very important cloud tool that I want to teach pretty soon, even though I have very little experience in it. We're getting there, but like I want to make it so it's like I can query BigQuery, but from my website, right? And then what I said was I just put in Windsurf. I was like, give me BigQuery capabilities like my Snowflake ones.
Yeah.
That was the prompt.
Yeah.
And it it was perfect. It was
Yeah.
perfect. Like there was literally, and then like all I had to do was put in the environment variables of like, okay, here's my BigQuery table, or here's my BigQuery like API key,
Yeah.
and then it just worked, and I was like, oh, we are so like because I know it took me like 2 weeks to get the Snowflake one working, right?
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that I've noticed as well that AI is very good at doing though is if you have an example, if you have code that you've already written and you want other features that are in a similar pattern to code that you've already written, it is very good at doing that. It is very good at taking old patterns that are in your code base. So I think that's where like actually having good clean code is actually even more important now than it was before, because AI will also learn how to replicate your bugs and replicate like your garbage if you have like a not clean code base. So I think it's kind of like it definitely like I find myself still struggling with this though. Like when I'm like, okay, I'm doing full stack work, and then I'm still in my, because I've just really grinded in those like patterns of like, okay, I need to write the code, I need to do this stuff, and then I'm like, wait a minute, this is not the way to do it. And then here's a tip for everyone listening is like if you start to think like, oh, that's gonna suck, that's when you use windsurf, right? Or that's when you use cursor, is like, because if you have an idea of what you want to do, but then like you're like, oh, writing that code's gonna suck, that's when windsurf really can kind of show up and like actually help you in a very significant way. So yeah, definitely recommend that. I mean, okay, so I mean,
I'll actually say
yeah,
something.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
During to this podcast by Latent Space, I absolutely love this series, and there was this really good analogy that they shared, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly what's happening, right? We have been overly dependent on Stack Overflow and other platforms from where you will be used to refer to code. It's very rarely that we write an entire code from scratch unless you're building your own SDK or something. Very rarely do you ever like do everything from scratch, right from like, hey, what are the imports that I need for this particular piece of code, to like, how do I define my function, can I copy paste like parts of my code from like somebody's blog or Stack Overflow. That part is being automated by AI. Now you don't have to like go to like five different locations, try to figure out like which code do you need. That part is automated by AI, and you still need to do debugging and testing. Like it has happened so many times that I ask, like, I use Cursor, so I ask it to like give me a code based on a particular Python package, and it completely hallucinates the whole shit out of it. And I'm like, dude, that's not true. And a lot of times it is not even able to figure out which package am I talking about, and it does not navigate to the right docs. So what I do is like I just copy paste a bunch of the doc page, and I'm like, just figure it out. Like, here is a dump of the docs, and now you can figure it out because now it's in your context window. So that sort of is still a human in the loop process, which is to test the code, debug it, make sure that there's no like security concerns, to make sure that you have the like keys and stuff in the env and like not hard coded in the code itself, right? So all of these checks and stuff you still need to do manually and
Mhm.
not entirely like rely on AI.
Oh yeah, I had another one that I want to talk about. Just another crazy like spooky experience I had with AI. So like I'm working on like getting my cloud onboarding working on my platform, where it's like, so when someone signs up for Data Expert, they get a Databricks account, they get a Snowflake account, they get an AWS account, right? And they get onboarded with all these platforms. And one of the things that was crazy was like when I asked Cursor for like the Databricks onboarding, it
Mhm.
gave me an API,
Yeah.
but the API was actually private. It was a private API that was literally just forbidden, but it was real. I mean, because if you post to it, like you got a response that like, it's like,
Oh,
oh, this is an actual API in Databricks, but there's no public documentation for it. There's no, and because then I was like, why does this not work? And then it was like, oh, it's like, and it just kept getting like a forbidden response. And I was like, how does it know? How does it know that this is it?
so I'll probably tell you a similar experience. It was reported in the news,
yeah.
and this is one of the models by Microsoft. And somebody had reported that they had some of their code base in the private GitHub repository,
Mm-hmm.
but because Microsoft owns GitHub, they somehow have given them the training data, and the model would actually refer to this particular repository even though it's private. It can
Mm-hmm.
read through it has like the context to what's there in that repository, even though that it's a private repository, because that information has been used to like pre-train the model. So that it is spooky, and that's why I feel as data and AI professionals, it is important that you try to understand these nitty gritty of like, oh, what does pre-training mean? I'm seeing like a bunch of people pinging here. What does inference engine mean? I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I'll tell you what's an inference engine, but these are the important parts that any data and AI professional should know. And a lot of times, software engineers might not know about these nitty gritty because it's never part of their life cycle, right? It's never part of their CI/CD life cycle. Now
Mhm.
that we have the continuous monitoring and continuous training part add to it, or like, even more complexities with LLM ops, it is important that you understand what these things are. So you need to understand that why does the model have context to it? What does pre-training mean? Where, how does this data get stored in the model weights? Like, how does it able to refer back to that? If you have to block a particular model from responding to a particular query, how do you do that? How do you build those guardrails? So I feel those are important concepts that AI professionals should know.
Oh yeah, that's a great segue into, I think, another kind of piece here is uh, 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 something that I have been able to do that's really been pretty impactful with AI in my boot camps is a lot of times my boot camps I have 300, 400 students in my boot camps, and I even tell them explicitly, I'm like, don't ask me questions, don't ping me directly with questions, right? Because if everyone did that, like I would just die. I
Yeah.
would just die, right? And so one of the things that I do is I have a bot that does that, right? That it is trained on all my videos. It's
Mhm.
trained on all and on all the Discord messages,
Uh-huh.
right? And so that together allows me to kind of build in that context, right? So, and I use just like a RAG model, like RAG, and I think RAG is a very interesting kind of space. Do you have any like thoughts on RAG and like where that's going? Because I know that building that context and rooting the models is so important.
Eh, I would say, like, the more I look at it from a software engineering lens, I just see it as an integration.
Mm-hmm.
It's it is as important as it can get. Two of the very lame things that I've heard on LinkedIn. One, now that we have MCP or like function calling capabilities, RAG is dead. I'm like, that's bullshit. Second thing that I heard, Llama 4 launched 10 million context window, that's the scout version, 10 million context window or 1 million context window. RAG is dead. I'm like, again, bullshit. There is a fundamental difference between how context window works versus how RAG works. Sure, part of what RAG was doing, if I have to like really push for it, I can say that, yeah, because I have a longer context window, it's able to like grab more information. But then where is that information coming from? If you have a dynamic data set that updates every 2 hours, how are you going to push that into the data? Are you going to keep retraining the model forever? Like, so I feel that's a fundamental way of looking at RAG, be it internet search is like part of probably like function calling and MCP, right? Like you do need internet search because that may not be your data set that you're actively managing. So you just like let the functions API calls do that. But then if you have a data set which your company manages, or if you are a creator and like I have I'm giving too much information about what pipeline I'm using, but I have my own repository of posts and blogs and everything that I've written in the last like 8+ years. And if I want to like run my model on top of that, one way to do that is build something like custom GPT, which all at once grabs all of my data, and then I can ask questions on top of it. I can ask you to do certain things on top of it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm posting like 4 posts every day, so my database grows by 4 posts every day, how am I going to accommodate to that? That's when you need RAG, because you have an extensive data set which keeps growing, which is dynamic, and you want your model to have that context every single time that you're talking to it. That's simply how RAG works, and it is as fundamental as any other pieces in the system. So if you have a dynamic data set, you need RAG. There's no question about it.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I think the whole like rag is dead kind of talk. I think there's like a nugget because a lot of times in these conversations there is some like, even though it sounds like just like a blatant lie in some ways, but there's sometimes is a nugget of truth.
Mhm.
And I think for the rag is dead one, it's like, okay, if you have a giant context window, like
Mhm.
what it gives you is the ability to just like not chunk anything, right? You can just like, you can be like, oh, here's just the entire document. Like, we don't care anymore. Like, cause it's like, if you go back 2 years, it's like, okay, the context windows were tiny. So you got to be very, very like, you got to be very like ruthless in what you picked to put in the context window versus what you took out. And I think that was, in some ways, it's made RAG a lot simpler, where it's just like, now it's like, just store the whole file and ram the whole file into the prompt and see what happens. And I think that's where there's like, it's made it simpler, but that like, it's definitely in some ways more powerful, actually more powerful, and like definitely not dead, right?
Exactly. It's definitely not dead.
Yeah. I mean, like, have you seen, so your company does a lot of like inference stuff, and like, have you seen like, because there's a bunch of trade-offs between, RAG and fine tuning and, just waiting for the next, best model from OpenAI. Like, do you have any like kind of wisdom on like when people should pick between like using something like RAG versus something like fine tuning their own model and deploying their own model? There's like, there's obviously like trade-offs with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably start with what's inferencing because I see a bunch of people asking me what's inferencing on the chat. So I'll probably start with that basic. So there's different parts of how an LLM gets to production. One, it starts from when you build the foundational model. So that's the part of pre-training. You have a particular data set. Most of them are using the internet data. It's obviously like being cleaned, getting stripped of misinformation. If you want to build it for a specific domain, you're doing that. And then you start training the model. So from scratch. So this is like a blank slate of model with seed model parameters. And then you're just training the model to look a certain way. There are benchmarks that you refer to make sure that okay, now it's trained enough and it is performing so and so on these benchmarks, on the coding benchmarks, on the math benchmarks, on humanities last exam, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're like, okay, now this is good to go for a general purpose tech. That is exactly what any of the foundational model providers are doing, be it OpenAI, be it Anthropic, be it Cohere. Like they're doing it from enterprises, but that's what anybody is doing from like a general tech perspective. Once your model goes out and it's available to you over the APIs, you need to infer to the model, right? Like the model has to be deployed somewhere, the same way that we have an API call where you call the API, you ping the API, and then it gives you a response. Think about an LLM exactly the same way. It has to be deployed somewhere. A lot of times, if the models are smaller, you can deploy it on your laptop itself and then call the model to get the response. So every time you're pinging a chat GPT model, like every time you're like chatting with chat GPT, that's an inference call. You're basically calling the model inference and then you get the response from the model. That's what is inference. So that's the next step of like, model, how like LLMs work. Now there is another component that Zach you mentioned is how do you fine tune the model, right? Now there are different layers of what these fine tuning means. It's not like the same for like fine tuning is not the same across different levels of it.
Mm-hmm.
One is full fine tuning, which is what we used to do when we used to build like deep neural networks. And we used to do that for like new data. We have a new data and then you just like parse it through the entire model and then you change the entire model parameters for using that data. That's a very computationally heavy thing to do, especially if you have like a 70 billion parameter model or like a 300 billion parameter model. Extremely time consuming. It's not that performant. What's the point of doing it is to improve the performance. So it's not a very performant thing to do. But that's what is full fine tuning. The similar way that we used to start thinking about deep neural networks, which is to have transfer learning, which is where
Mm-hmm.
we freeze, say, like 90% of the model parameters and just like leave the last layer to be trained, is a similar way that we are doing with parameter efficient fine tuning. That's
Mm-hmm.
what happens right now for pretty much like any inference providers, even on Fireworks. When you go and do a fine tuning of the model, it is not doing a full fine tuning, it is doing a parameter efficient fine tuning. There are two maybe sub versions of it. One is called LoRa and QLoRa. One is the quantized version, and the other one is like the base version of LoRa, which is lower rank adaptation. What that does is it saves you time and cost and efficiency in not retraining the model weights of the LLM, but rather introduce a new adapter which you train with your new data. So you provided a new data which is different from the data that is existing. Now, you asked a very good question. When do I use training, right? Like full fine tuning is mostly not going to happen. Most of the people will never do it. When do you do a parameter efficient fine tuning? When you have a data that is different from what the model has been trained on, or it is domain specific. If it is a data that only I own or only my company owns, and the model out of the box is not able to understand the jargons that I'm asking it, or it doesn't understand the format that I'm asking it for, or it doesn't understand like whatever concepts I'm asking it for, right? It doesn't have that domain expertise. That's when
Mhm.
I go about and doing a fine tuning. Now, as I said, when you do a fine tuning, you're still training a set of model parameters, which is part of the adapters. Then you deploy the adapters with the language model, and then you're ready to infer from that particular tuned model. That's basically how you do it for a new knowledge base. Now, the last part is there is a case where you could have expanding knowledge base, where like your companies like Facebook or Netflix or Instagram, they have like a growing knowledge base of content that keeps growing every single day or every single second. In that case, you want to make sure that your model has access to all of that new information. In that situation, you use a RAG.
Mhm.
And right now, what I see is people use a combination of RAG and fine tuning, which is called RAFT. And you use a combination of that. The reason is you still want to use RAG in order to access all of that information,
Mhm.
but you need to do fine tuning because there is some domain specific information available in your data set which the model doesn't have context on. So intermediately you keep doing fine tuning. So it can be like every 1 month you do a fine tuning in order to give it like more context and to make sure that the model weights are updated to the new information. So
Mhm.
whatever schedule you want to do the fine tuning for, but it's a combination of RAG and fine tuning. So there's an amazing paper about how Raft infrastructure works, or like how that architecture works, that we can share later on. And like,
Definitely, definitely. Like for anyone who's on this, we will get you that link. So I guess I have a follow-up question with that. So if you're fine tuning, so fine tuning will get you all of that domain, because if RAG is bringing in a lot of this domain specific knowledge, like the kind of the more like maybe the fast changing, the more recent domain knowledge, and then you fine tune, does that mean that like you don't need to bring that in with RAG anymore, or like because now that data is in the model, it's like kind of like sucked into the model now, and that like you can like your prompts can be simpler because you don't need as much context because it's like that context is now learned.
if it's a small database, yes, you may not need a RAG, but
Mhm.
RAG is essentially needed when you have a growing data set. When you have a huge corpus, which is
Mhm.
ever growing, that's when you need a RAG, because, or you'll have to like keep fine tuning the model at all occasions you have new data. So
Yeah.
that's basically what it is. Again, like there's difference in how RAG works, because I'll probably give you a easier example that people can relate with. So the difference is that, let's say that I'm an engineer, I'm not a doctor, but I want to pull up some information about something in medical science. I go open a book, I read something from it, and then close it. Now I have that information. That is RAG. You're just
Mhm.
retrieving some information. But if I go to school, if I do like a crash course on medicine
Mhm.
and try to learn something new out of it, that's like fine tuning, because I'm actually changing my memory power. And that's what you're doing with the model. You're changing the model parameters for the model to incorporate and summarize and condense that information within the model parameter weights, compared to just referring to something and coming back and saying that, oh, I read that somewhere. That's the
Okay.
difference between RAG.
So yeah, fine tuning is like giving your model a bachelor's degree. Like,
Exactly.
okay,
Not,
yeah,
not,
that
that's full fine tuning.
yeah, you know what's interesting about a lot of this stuff, at least like in like the data engineering world, they have this kind of a very similar, at least it makes a lot of lights go off in my head around the difference between like a lambda architecture and a kappa architecture, where it's like, lambda architecture has like that batch mode that is kind of like more of like the the regularly scheduled fine tuning, and then you have the streaming mode, which is going to be like the real time data coming in. Obviously, we're not fine tuning models like every day like they do with lambda and kappa architectures, but it's a similar sort of idea though, where you have this like fast changing real time data, and then
Yep.
you have this thing that's catching up and kind of like learning and retraining and building up and like kind of kind of sucking in. It's almost like fine tuning is almost like taking the new recent information and then turning it into like curricula, or turning it into like it's systematizing the
Yeah.
new information as it's coming in. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Like, I mean, what are some like, I guess kind of shifting gears here a little bit, like what are some like really exciting applications here that you think people should be looking into? Because I know like this space it allows people to like have superpowers. I mean, I know for me, like I my tech creator platform, I already have like 9 other AI things that I'm working on that I'm like, wow, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. Like, and like, I'm curious, like, do you have any like maybe suggestions or ideas of places where people like there might be, places that are underserved right now that like, because I know there's a lot of hungry entrepreneurs in the audience right now who are looking to build with AI.
So there's two answers to that depending on what kind of product that you're trying to build. One is like B2B product, the other is like B2C product. It's very different compared to like what level of tech, or like how can you even call this startup profitable, right? Like how does that ROI work? So when it comes to B2C, I would say like do an introspection of what are the things that I do every day that I can improve using AI. So
Mm-hmm.
I have seen like really creative people building out these tools, which is like, hey, I'll give you a personalized food plan every single day, depending on like how much sleep you have got, depending on like what your schedule looks like for today. So like extremely hyper personalized planner for you, for like, are you going to be going to the gym today? Like how long are you going to go to the gym? Like it's able to pull from my gym app that, hey, today she has like burpees and pull-ups, so what's the right kind of nutrition that she would need, when should she be drinking a protein shake and stuff. So that's hyper personalization that people would love. So introspect and think about like, hey, what are the things that I would love every single day that would save me time and money. That's the
Mm-hmm.
easiest way of figuring out what a consumer would need. And I would say do a background research, always do a market research, because what you need may not be something that everybody else needs. So at least talk to like 100 people. They could be your friends, they could be your parents, they could be your family, anybody
Mm-hmm.
like in your circle, or just like, randomly tap the shoulder of a person who's sitting in a coffee shop. I've done that. And just like, ask them like, hey, what do you care about? Like what are the things that you feel is like the major pain point in your day-to-day life? It could be their day-to-day in like
Mm-hmm.
a personal capacity, or their day to day as an employee. So
Oh yeah.
that's how Cursor came about, right? Like Cursor is targeting, I would say like it's still a very B2C product. Even
Mm-hmm.
though they sell enterprise licenses, the product target is very B2C. It is targeting that, hey, Zach, how can I make you a better engineer? How can I make you a faster engineer so that you can get to your goals faster? So either it's like a personal optimization or a professional optimization that you can do for people. That's the easiest way to like think about it. From an enterprise perspective, people are working at a company and you're like, leading a team. Go back to your team, like do this as a bottom up approach. Go back to your team, ask them that, hey, how does your Monday to Friday look like? What are the things that you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
A simple thing, right? Like, why does a company need a copywriting AI model? I'm a DevRel here, and I'm like, we need a copywriting AI model because we want to make sure that it is accurate. I can't 100% rely on ChatGPT because it hallucinates a lot. It has inaccurate information. It doesn't have a brand voice. So, how can I help myself by automating this? Have
Yeah.
a copyright AI model. So again, like, this is a bottom up approach where we're like, how do we improve our team's capabilities? How do we put out great content? How do we put out great blogs? How do we put out great tutorials, which is in line with the brand voice, in line with the level of technicality that we want it to be, and at the same time, which is correct and well documented, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
a way that I would say that, hey, we need a copyright AI model, or like, an AI agent that does copywriting for me. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's the way that I would go about it. Like, think about what do you do right now that you can improve, rather than trying to pick a use case which is tangential to what you do. Like it's like finding a nail in the haystack and be like, oh, I'm gonna go hammer that nail. Like first hammer the nails that you have in your hand.
Yeah, and like finding those cases that are going to be like really really useful, like, because I guess that was the thing that like when I've been thinking about my business and like the future of where I'm going, is this like whole idea of like I should be able to teach 400 students by myself with
Yeah.
no help and
Yeah.
they all get their needs met.
Yep.
Like, and that they all feel taken care of, right?
Yeah.
And that's like because one of the things, that there's some like, and this is one of the other reasons why I like, I read this stat about education, right? So if a student has a one-on-one tutor, right, they are 98% more effective than the average student. So
Yep.
it's like if they have a one-on-one tutor that just vastly outperform students that are in more of a group setting. And it's like we've kind of been education has been kind of screwed over in this way where it's like we can't really do much about it because of the fact that there's not enough teachers and there's a lot of students.
Yeah.
But like AI is changing that. AI is making it so that the AI can like literally give you a one-on-one mentor and allow you to grow and have very, very, very effective education,
Yeah.
like at scale. And then like you just need to have like the people who are defining the curricula and defining the paths, and then AI can like really coach people along that path. And then that's like, I mean, that's my vision. That's like where I see that as like I see that statistic and I see that impact, and then I'm like, okay, let's make it happen. Let's make it real. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's like definitely that like that's one of the other things that you want to be thinking about, like when like if you're thinking about like AI applications, is like, okay, what are places where um the like where you feel kind of limited by manpower or limited just by like humans. Like another one for me is like I do cold outreach where it's like, so I have this like email list of like 100,000 emails or whatever,
Mhm.
and then like what I do is I kind of use those emails, get their LinkedIn. There's a bunch of services that you can kind of like augment someone's if you have an email address, you can get a LinkedIn profile from it, and then use AI to craft a cold email to this person if they're a fit for
Yeah.
my boot camp, right? And then just go send out those emails. And it's like, I'm not going to do that
Yeah.
individually for every student because
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
would be a lot of work. But
Yeah.
AI makes it so that like, wow, now I can like do massive, massive outreach with
Yeah.
people and
Yeah.
like really kind of streamline my sales processes and streamline things. And there's like a lot of places where that's the case, where there's like this one step of like, you need to like look at some data and then craft something, and then that is what you need. That's your deliverable, or that's your like your output. And I think that's like definitely a space that's nerve wracking. I think that kind of leads me to this next question for you: is like, what roles do you think are in danger? Are there roles here that you think are going to be disrupted sooner than other roles in like the next 5-10 years?
I would say if you're doing things which requires zero stakeholder management, your role is at risk. And if you're doing things which is like non-collaborative, your role is at risk. Because I'll give you an example, right? Like this is not the first time that this is happening, right? Like I remember there was a point because my mom has been sort of like my source of truth about like how this data space has evolved. She used to tell me that there used to be a role called data entry operator.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like manually enter the data into the system. But now there have the technology took over, and you have like scanners, or like you have those OCR readers which helps you like quickly go from like paper information to like digital assets. Or like now the shift has entirely been to like all the information already lies in the digital system. There's no like paper information, right? So that role was entirely taken over because that role did not have any stakeholder management. At the end of the day, you're just looking at the paper, entering it, verifying it. That's pretty much all you're doing. And exactly the same thing that's happening right now. I would not say that data analyst is that role, because there are different levels of that data analyst. And now I feel it's more of like the data analyst role is moving towards something different. It's not the traditional data analyst role where you would have to like sit and like look through all of these Excel sheets and like try to figure out something, or like build up your VLOOKUP equations, or like build up charts and figure out what's going on. You can just push that CSV into a chatbot and like ask questions over it, right?
Yeah.
That saves you a lot of time. And that's where I feel that when people think that, oh, data analyst roles are not going to be existent in this world, it is not that every company is going to pick up all of the data analysts and be like, now just like get out of the system. That's not how it is happening. The role is evolving. So the data analyst, traditionally what they used to do is going to be automated partly by an AI system. There
Mhm.
still needs stakeholder management. You need to coordinate between different teams. None of the things practically at any enterprise or a startup happens according to your plan, right? So what happens if things don't go according to the plan? What if it is not the traditional path, right? What if it's not the the thing that you anticipated it would that would happen? So in those situations you need a human to like re-navigate or like divert it into a different direction, or debug that and like resolve it and like move to a different direction. All of that requires a lot of like human critical thinking and stuff. So that part cannot be automated. So I would say that if you are in a role where you feel that, okay, I'm just, another simple example, analysts at companies like BCG, McKinsey, were just like sitting down and like making presentations. Part of your role is going to get automated because now you have tools like Gamma or like Slides.io, or even like, there's native support with Google Slides, there's native support with Microsoft Presentation, which basically takes you from like one prompt to 30 slides. And then all you need to do is like go clean it up and fix it, things that you don't like. So part of your role is getting automated. Part of a software engineer's role is getting automated with Cursor and Windsurf. So I feel like every role's part which can be automated is being automated by AI.
Mhm.
And if your entire role does not involve any stakeholder management, does not involve you talking to people, you being a mediator between different teams, you being a interpreter trying to understand what's the requirement and how do we go about it, how do we plan it, if you're not doing any of that, then yes, your role is at risk.
Yeah, I had like that really echoes back. Like about like 6 months ago, I had like an extremely viral post on LinkedIn where like the first line was, "I hate to say it, but product managers are the safest from AI," because that's like their whole role. That's their whole
Actually,
thing, right?
sales,
Like I mean,
sales is
like,
the same for AI, right? Like
yeah,
traditionally, like if you look at 100 years ago, what a salesman used to do is still what a salesperson does. They just
yeah,
use different tools to do it. But then that's probably the safest option because you have to convince somebody to buy your product. Even
yeah,
today, like it's just like basic common sense, right? You want to sell $1 million product, $1 million bill to somebody. It
hmm,
is a person, it is a human sitting in that company, probably at a VP level, and thinking that why do I buy this? Convince me why I should buy this. Why should
hmm,
I be putting this risk? And it's a human who's going to sign the check. So at the end of the day, it's a human that you need to convince.
yeah.
That is something that a salesman would do. So sales is probably like one of the safest roles because there's like human to human convincing capabilities that you need.
Yeah, like I read an article about this that said like what is the absolute number one safest role across every industry? What's the number one safest role from AI? And they said it's substance abuse counselor because like it has because if you're talking with someone with addiction, it's like you have to persuade them. You have to persuade them. You also have to be emotionally present with them, right? And you have to like negotiate with them, right?
Yep.
Persuade, negotiate, and be emotionally present and warm. And those three things are like, I don't know, like it's gonna take AI some time. It's gonna take AI a lot of time to be able to like pull that off, right? Because it's like we've been doing those things as humans for like, I don't know, like millions of years now. I think like a while. Like it's gonna take AI a long time to like get to that level, the level that we are at with that stuff, Like, I
Absolutely.
mean,
And I
cool.
still don't feel like the world is gonna be all AI driven because with the industrial revolution, sure we have a lot of machines to produce things at super fast pace, but Louis Vuitton still exists. People are sucker for handmade bags. So
Yeah.
people are always going to be sucker for like handmade stuff, and so is going to be the thing for like artists. Like a lot of people were worried that, hey, like if I can produce the art in my house using a prompt on chat gpt, what is the future of artists? There still will be a market for that. So I feel like it just makes the ease of access. So now that, let's say that there were like 100,000 people who used to buy art, now
Yeah.
there'll be like 5 million people who have art at their place, but maybe 100,000 have bought it and the rest of them have just like used AI to produce it. So it's
Yeah.
just making the market bigger rather than taking away the jobs of artists.
Oh yeah, it's exciting. Let's open it up a little bit here for Q&A, just for like about 5-10 minutes here, so we can get some other people rolling here. I think that's we've had a lot of freaking things in the chat here. Let's like I'm just want to see if there's any in here that I like find that was interesting, because we got most of them. Okay, let's see here. Unconventional truth. Okay. Let's see here. Any of these? I'm trying. I like this one. There's someone's like, we need to evolve like Charizard. Yeah, we need to evolve. We'll all be Charizards in here. Yeah, that's why you're here. That's why you're listening to the 24-hour live, right? All right. 100%. That's the goal. The goal here is to just overdose y'all. But like, definitely, we're answering any questions that y'all might have, and that would be interesting, because we have probably about another five-ish minutes here with Ash, and then we're going to be moving on to Rahul. Rahul is next. It's going to be intense. I'm excited for this, to get this rolling and get all these, getting just all of these amazing people by the end of this. I know I am going to have like
good tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm like, how?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I know. That's when you're going to be back, Ash, and you're going to be like, you're going to see me like dark circles, and you're going to be like, what is going on with this guy? All right. Okay, this is a good one. I like this one. What should I do as a software engineer to keep up with the change of order? Like, I think that's a great question. Do you have any thoughts on that, Ash?
Be AI literate. Like, try to understand how AI works. Like things that I mentioned, right? It doesn't have to be specific to large language models. It can be whatever subsection of AI that you're most fascinated about. And also, like, it's a great way for you to chat with your leadership. I have been doing this since I was at IBM. I used to have these like monthly or like once in 2 months calls with my leadership. I used to just set up my time with the VPs, and I used to just ask them, what is your vision? What are you thinking about for this team? Like, how are we going to change? What is the new things that we're going to work on? What are the new products that we might be work on? And
Yeah.
do that. Like, as a software engineer, you should be aware of what the team vision is. And that will redirect you to how you should put your time and effort in upskilling. There is absolutely no point of trying to do everything under the sun. It's going to take you nowhere. So it's more important to do it in a very structured manner. So one, be AI literate. Of course, you need to understand what the terminologies are, what are the things that you need to take care of. Like one of the examples that I gave you, like DevOps is typically what software engineers are familiar with, right? Like you have the CI/CD pipeline that you build. But
Yeah.
now with LLMs and like with machine learning models, which work slightly differently, you have continuous monitoring and continuous training. You need observability. You need like risk tolerance for these models. You need to have like multiple different traffic which is being like redirected to different versions of the model. So you need to have that version control, but slightly different in these cases. You have to have human in the loop. So if you're doing like any sort of RLHF or like RLVR, you need to have some way or form of how your systems are being designed to do that.
Oh yeah.
So I would say the easiest way to think about it is any of the things that AI brings into the picture are still algorithms, are still very raw in the nature. It needs software engineering to put it in practice. So all of these requires integrations, all of these requires things like scalability. How do we auto scale these things? How do I containerize these applications and stuff, right? So it's traditional software engineering. It just has new blocks, new shiny blocks, which people call as parts of AI that you need to familiarize yourself with.
Oh yeah, that was. I had another post about that where I was like, AI engineers are just spicy full stack engineers. That was another like, and like that was another one that like really went off. Like, so someone's asking, where can we find more content with AIs? So like, I mean, I'm going to be teaching an AI bootcamp here in about a month, starting on June 30th. We're going to be doing an AI engineering bootcamp. That's going to be really great. It actually is combined with a data engineering bootcamp. There's a data engineering bootcamp that's starting in 4 days. And I'm actually, so at the end of each speaker session here, I'm going to be giving one letter of a discount code, and each discount code will be 4 characters. And so the first letter of a 75% off discount code is P.
It's like a treasure hunt.
So the first letter of a 75% off discount code is P. And keeping in mind, this discount code is only valid for 3 people. So the first 3 people who get this, they get this. But like, and so every 4 people, you'll end up getting a discount code that is valid at the end of the 4th session. And then you can keep watching. And then, so every segment, you're going to need to be able to like kind of get in and be able to, and hopefully you stick around for this, right? That's the whole point, is that I want y'all to get overdosed on AI and then, join my products and go even deeper here, right? So, I mean, let's take one more question here, Ash, and then I think we got to make a swap with Rahul, right? Okay, I like this one. What do you think about AGI? Were we far from consciousness? What do you think AGI will look like? I love this, like as just like a conversation. Like,
In all honesty, the way I look at how these LLMs function is depending on the data that it's being trained on. I don't know if you've seen this. There was this like leaked Claude's and like Perplexity's system prompt, and it
mhm.
was like literally calling it out. Please be as descriptive as possible. Include 3,000 words of explanation, and like it. That's what I'm talking about. So it's going to be as conscious as somebody has entered in the system prompt. At
Yeah,
the end of the day, it's going to give you information from the data that it has seen, or there'll be like probably 10% of the creativity that comes in from amalgamation of the data that it has been trained on. But it is not truly innovative. That's one thing that we need to realize. It's not truly innovative. It
yeah,
is not going to give you something that it has not seen. Second, it does not have emotional intelligence. You can make it sound like it has emotional intelligence. It does not have emotional intelligence. Like I'll tell you like my way of Turing test. If I ask you the same question 10 times, Zach,
mhm.
the 11th time you're gonna be like, shut up, man. You're just like boring me. The way ChatGPT responds to me that way, I'll say that AJ is here.
Yeah, yeah, we're here, right? It's like once I can feel that the AI is annoyed.
Exactly. Like, if you can annoy the AI, I will believe that AJ is here.
That's amazing. That's amazing, dude. Thank you so much, Ash. This has been a really, really awesome time.
Thanks, Zach.
So yeah, we are set up here for about 5-ish minute break. I'm gonna be going and taking a few steps to keep my back and everything ready to roll here. But yeah, thank you so much, Ash, for coming on here.
Thanks for
Yeah,
having me here.
have a
Hope you
good one.
the rest of the live stream.
Yeah, right, for sure. All right, everyone. I will I'm gonna be vibing here for a long time. So we are like almost 5% done. We'll be like at the end of the second one, we will be closer to 5% or closer to 10% done, right? And then like we'll just keep on rolling, right? So the biggest problem with any boot camp or training is they skip a lot of fundamentals, basics like 1+1 = 2, and dive into quadratic equations. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that there's definitely a line in the sand with a lot of this stuff. But like, yeah, I really appreciate Ashwarya coming on. Definitely, like if you are you should follow her for sure. That's so this is Ashwarya's name, Ashwarya Srinivasan. And so we will be getting Rahul. Rahul will be next. Rahul Pandey is going to be next. He's very awesome. Like he was a staff engineer in big tech for a long time, right? What is in that mind of yours that come up with such creative stuff? Thank you, Avantika. Avantika's awesome. Avantika is going to be coming on in like I don't know. I think she's coming on at like midnight or something like that. Like pretty far. Yeah, 24 hours straight. Yes, but it will be broken up into 6 4-hour segments. So we are 1 hour deep right now, and so I need to like just get up and move my body for a second. 1 second. I gotta like. Oh, dude, I should probably like move this back just a little bit. Can we move this guy back just a little bit and then move this guy back just a little bit? Whoa. Does that like, oh no, the camera's all messy now. There we go. I think that'll be better. So now we just gotta like, so the goal here, right, is I gotta like be doing like some, whoa, no camera, you gotta stay. Okay, don't worry. Rahul will be here in just a second. In the meantime, I will entertain you guys, right? So we have, okay, 1 second. I got to move this monitor. We're going to move this guy back just a little bit. There we go. Now we should be able to move this laptop forward and then move this down. And now y'all can see me, right? So we got to like, just like do some jumping jacks, right? Got to send it here. We got like a couple minutes to like keep this flowy, right? Just gotta like keep it going, right? And this is gonna be sick. I'm excited for y'all. Like, definitely get ready for all of this rolling, right? So it's like I gotta like keep my freaking energies high by moving and running. I ran a 5K earlier today, but like it should be pretty sick Rahul should be here in about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we will be rolling. What is the discount code for? So the discount code is for Data Expert. You can join the bootcamp, or you can join the subscription product. So you definitely have to be here for the full 4 hours to get all of the letters. And keeping in mind, it's just for 3 of you. So the first 3 would be it, right? As someone who doesn't feel fully qualified for this bootcamp for not having so much Python experience, do you think I should wait for the August bootcamp? Probably, right? I think that's probably a good idea, right? Hey, is that lurking here on Twitch? You might want to change your streaming category to something like either software and game development or just chatting. Yeah, for sure. That is definitely it. So, so the coupon code is going to be, the discount code is for this website, dataexpert.io, and that's where you can go get it, right? What is this bootcamp? What's the price worth, right? So the bootcamp is a 10-week program that starts on Monday, where we're going to be covering 5 weeks of data engineering and then 5 weeks of AI engineering. And it should be really great, right? It's going to be a really awesome time. If you go to dataexpert.io, you can see all of what's going to go on there, right? What can we expect out of this interview marathon? If you were here for Ash's session, then it'll be very clear what will happen here in the next 3 or 4 minutes. We will be getting a next one, right? Does it activate after the 4th, or can we start guessing? You can start guessing right now if you want, right? So what was the first letter? The first letter was P. So P was the first letter. The first letter of the discount code was P, and it's 4 letters. So it's kind of like a Wordle, kind of like Wordle, I guess. I know that like once the 3rd letter is out, people will probably have it guessed, right? So it's going to be pretty awesome. Like I'm pretty excited. I'm gonna get back into position here. 1 second. All right, that's better. Okay, that's probably much better. Anyways, I'm an AI and ML engineer. Does this bootcamp help me? Depends on how good you are. I mean, if you're like a god at it, probably not. Like, but your office chair. Am I seeing this correctly? Expert data? No, data expert, bro. Like what? Like discount code only works for coming bootcamp, or can we use it for the future? It only is for the first 3 people. The odds that you can use it for future bootcamps is 0. All right, so let's go ahead and let me 1 second. I need to get. Are you gonna upload any videos on AI engineering on YouTube? Maybe. Like let me go and I need to find Rahul. See what he's up to. Okay, let me get another guest in here. I'm excited though, y'all. This is gonna be such a good time. Like we're gonna. It's gonna be a good time. But yeah, if y'all have any other questions, I'm gonna be here answering questions all day, all night, all the time. Right? It's gonna be freaking great. Will AI replace data engineers? How will data engineers evolve to Charizard? Obviously, by getting to level 36. Duh. Oh man, it's gonna be awesome. Like, I mean, AI will not replace data engineers. I think it's gonna oh yeah, let's go. Add to the stream. Right on time, bro. How's it going?
Hello.
Welcome, Rahul. Welcome, Rahul.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Welcome. I just want to give you a quick intro real quick. So Rahul he worked in big tech for a long time as a staff engineer at Pinterest and Meta. Now he is the founder of a company, Taro. And Taro is like a software engineering community that helps engineers get promoted and level up. Is that a good intro? Can you give yourself a better intro? I don't know. I feel like I did an okay job there.
I think you did a great job. I can add a little bit more color. Yeah. So I mean, I've been in the Bay Area my whole career. I went to Stanford. I was at a startup which got acquired by Pinterest, and I was at Pinterest for 2.5 years. Then joined Meta, aka Facebook back then, for 4.5 years, and then 2022 left to do Taro. And I think your description of it is pretty apt. Basically, the idea being that there's a lot of skills that are frankly non-technical, not just about, okay, how well do you know Python or these different like technical concepts, but much more on how do you think about career advancement and working with your manager, promotion, onboarding, things like that I wish I had known when I was earlier in my career. So Taro is basically packaging up a lot of that advice from people in the industry.
Yeah, amazing. Like I'm really excited to get rolling in that, because I think that's one of the things that both me and you kind of have a similar sort of journey there of like kind of growing from like, you know, junior engineer to like more like into a tech lead, and then like kind of figuring out all of those different paths, right? Of like, because I know what I guess I want to start this off with. This is a quote from the Zuck himself, right, or something like that. He says that AI will be able to do everything that a mid-level engineer does in the next, I don't know, I think he said like year. He said something crazy. He said something really crazy. Like, do you have any thoughts on that? That like what would be like how that's going to shake out?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. So, well, first off, let me just share. Like, I was at Google I/O yesterday, so here's my badge. And I'll share one stat that I thought was mind blowing. On the main stage of I/O, Sundar, the CEO, he said that the number of tokens processed by Gemini, which is like Google's flagship AI product, has gone up 50x year over year. And so that's like there are very few things in life that go up 50 times compared to the prior year. And so I think that if you're an engineer and you're not paying attention to AI, you're not leveraging these hot new AI tools, then you are going to be missing out. Because imagine if in 1 year it's 50x, 5 years from now, like the whole world, how we do engineering is going to change. So that part I think is hard to deny, that I think the job is going to evolve. The claim that AI will do everything that a mid-level software engineer does, that one is a little bit, it's interesting, because I think the first thing we have to talk about is what does an engineer do? And I think, and exactly, me and you both, like Airbnb, Netflix, Meta, these companies, you would agree with me that the job of the mid-level or senior engineer is not just writing code, right? There's so much more that goes into it. It's like, how do you get buy-in from your team? How do you convince them that this is the right project to work on, or maybe this bug or this unit testing is not actually worth the time, right? Like a lot of it is what I would call like convincing people. Like the human element of software engineering is not to be taken lightly.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of the coding will certainly be done either in terms of augmentation, like we use Cursor or something to tap complete all our code, or it might be more agentic, where it's like Jules or Codex will tell it like, oh, please upgrade the node version, or please do this or that, and it'll do it for us. That part I think will really dramatically change how we approach the coding part. But there's actually a lot more to software engineering that is not coding, and that I think will be what we need to evolve with.
Oh yeah, like I've definitely noticed that, especially like as you grow in your career, like you code less and less and less, right? It's like you're spending more time thinking and, you know, architecting and persuading, and like then you go and write 10 lines of code and you're like, boom, $1 million. or like, and that's like, I know that seems like one of the, like, that's kind of like the vision of the kind of staff engineer, right? Is that like, when I see these AI tools and everything, I guess the one role that I actually feel pretty confident in is the staff engineer. Is that like that's actually a role that could be like kind of given a lot more superpowers. And I think that like one of my questions here would be like, the thing I'm nervous about with that quote from Zuck is like, if we don't hire mid-level engineers, like the senior and staff engineers will age out, right? You know, like you can't get senior and staff engineers without mid-level engineers. It's like part of the pipeline, right? It's like you have to grow engineers. So like, you think that that's going to look differently? Because I think you're right in that like you need to get buy-in. But I guess from my perspective, that is something that's more at the senior level, like where, like, you know, when I was at Facebook, you know, like when I was L4 at Facebook, it was like, Zach, do this project.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't like, Zach, like convince people this is the project that needs to be done.
Yep. So I think maybe we can go through it, like the bull case and the bear case. The bull case meaning, well, let's start with the bear case, meaning that what you said kind of comes true, which is like, me and you who are already senior staff levels, we're pulling up the ladder. So no one else can climb to our level. Like basically it's done. And that does lead to a problem, I think, where, you know, where will the next crop of senior staff engineers come from if all the junior mid-level are being replaced, right? So that's the bear case. I think that there is some validity to that. Like if you look empirically, there are a lot of companies in Y Combinator, like we went through Y Combinator with Taro. A lot of them, they only want to hire people with more experience right? So I don't know how that has necessarily evolved, but they want people who are already able to see a code base scale and a product scale, and they are really deliberately focused on that. And so, yeah, you could make the argument that, okay, it's going to be only harder and harder and harder for junior engineers and mid-level engineers to get a job. The alternate, the kind of the bull case on why it's still going to be a viable career path is, I think you could argue that if you're AI native, you will just understand how to use these AI tools so much more. Like if you told me, hey, I've been using ChatGPT for 5,000 hours, that's way more than I have, right? So if you're like a 22-year-old and you've been using it for thousands of hours, you probably know how to prompt and know how to leverage ChatGPT way better than I do. So from that perspective, like you might actually exceed my own abilities because you inherently understand these tools at a much better level. So that's the other case. Like, hey, if you're a 22-year-old and you're just so cracked at all of these AI terminology and technologies, more than like the 35, 40, 55-year-old, I think you could also argue that you will have as much impact or more compared to the older generation.
Yeah, I mean, that like, the interview coder guy. I guess that's the the guy who's like doing he's applying LLMs to like help people cheat.
Yeah,
in,
what is
like,
that?
DSA interview,
right?
Right? Like he's
AI.
super young, right? He's super young,
Yeah.
and he's essentially, I think you're like his name and his face came up when you were describing that person of someone who's just like so well versed with LLM and so well versed to like then build it into a product that like I think he hit 1 million ARR in like a month or something like that. It was like something insane, and he's like,
I think it was like 5 million within a few months. It was like crazy viral growth.
Yeah. And so like, I mean, I guess that is a question I'm curious about. Like, what do you think about, like, how do you think the DSA interview is going to change? Like, do you think it's going to change at all with LLM and like with tools like this that are essentially a giant middle finger to like, like leak code doesn't matter anymore?
Yeah, I think it has to change. Like, I think this notion, if we're still doing like a hacker rank, which is like a leak code medium problem in 30 minutes on your own time in like 2 or 3 years, I think that's like just totally stupid. And I'm sure there will be companies that still do that, but the amount of signal you get from that is just so low because cheating is going to be rampant. Like it's so trivial to just copy paste something in and you get a decent answer. So I think this, a lot of people on LinkedIn have talked about the return of the on-site interview. Like there's a joke about it. It's like, I wish there was a new way of interviewing where people could go into a central testing room and get like a proctored interview. And they're basically reinventing an on-site interview, which is what, we've been doing for like a long time. So I do think that's going to come back because that, again, goes back to this idea of a human element. Like an interview is not just testing. Did you get the optimal runtime and how quickly did you write the code? It is testing. Okay, here's a problem. Zach, like here's a variant of the problem. Let me see how creative you are, how you're able to walk me through, like talk to me about what are the pros and cons. And that just is not captured in like a black box 30-minute hacker rank or coder pad leak code problem. I think that has to evolve or go away completely. It just doesn't make sense in this world where AI is everywhere.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember that. Like, I like the on-site rounds, I guess, like because it felt like one of the things I like about the on-site rounds, like because I did on-site at Facebook and I did on-site at Netflix. Airbnb though I interviewed in 2021, so it was all virtual. But like, I definitely feel like one of the things that you get from that is you also get more information as a candidate, right? There's a side of it, and they are more invested because it's like, yo, if you want to bring me in on site, like pay for my flight, right? Or yo, like it's like the company should like be more invested that way, right? Where it's like pay for my flight, give me 8 of your engineers time for an hour, right? And then it's like I guess like because I did on site at Google as well, and I got rejected, and I still had a good time though. I felt like I still had a good time and that like it was something that like was worthwhile. Whereas like I've had some virtual rounds that I'm like, this was a waste of time. Like I feel like because you get that more human personal element. It's like it's better for the candidate as well. It's not just better for the it's not just there to prevent cheating, right?
Yeah. I think that candidates forget that an interview is a two-way street. It's not only that you are being judged and evaluated. The best candidates have multiple options. And so if you want to act like the best candidate, you should also be asking difficult questions. Or maybe not difficult, but like you should be asking really insightful questions about, okay, how do you work? What is the most difficult part of your job? What are the things that you wish you could just change right now in how you work? Like you should be kind of asking questions that you also can evaluate. And that's so much easier and so much better done when you are in person relative to if you're like, on a 30-minute calendar block on someone's Zoom when you're totally remote. It's so easy for people to mentally like block you out.
Mhm.
Whereas if you're like having lunch with someone, there's something about that physical like eye contact and like shaking their hand. It's you just build a much, much deeper relationship. And that's not going to change anytime soon.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's like that's actually one of the things that I felt like I actually do a pretty good job at is like that in-person warmth and that in-person friendliness where I'm like, dude, these virtual bring it back, dude.
Yeah.
And it's like I could go crack any interview if I'm in person, dude.
Although I feel like for you in particular, I feel like you have a superpower of being able to exude that charisma or enthusiasm online too. Like you're one of the few people who is like, it just feels like your LinkedIn whenever you put, it just feels very authentic and raw.
Yeah.
Why I think is a big part of why people follow you. It's like, okay, it just seems like I know you.
Yeah, right. It's like it's very
stuff.
transparent, like like painfully transparent. Like
yeah, exactly.
I mean, okay, so I like this kind of this line of thought here. So it's like, so engineers should be more AI native. I think that's a big one. Like what other strategies do you think that say you're like L3 or L4 and you're looking to become senior or you're looking to become staff, like what other kind of strategies do you think you would employ right now to kind of get ahead and get to that point to like be able to like have that more like stable role?
Okay, so I think a couple of things come to mind. One is knowing what you're working on and why it's directly connected to the top priority of your team or organization or the whole company, right? So what I like to tell people is that when you talk to the like director, or if you like read their like summary of here's what we've accomplished this quarter, and they write down like their top priorities, if you cannot directly connect what you're doing to one of their top priorities, then you're probably not going to grow your career as quickly as you could. Right? And it's also not just as simple as, oh, is it lined up? A lot of it could be about framing and narrating how your work does connect. Like it may not be obvious to an outsider, but if you pitch your idea to say, hey, I'm doing this testing thing and it's boring, or you could pitch it out, here's this testing thing and here's why it's going to directly help priority number 1 of our whole org. All of a sudden now it became way more compelling. Right? So there's some like skill, I think, in storytelling and like being able to connect the dots that I think a junior and mid-level engineer should get really good at. And then also if you feel like this is like too much of a stretch, like you need to then figure out how can you navigate your work or navigate to a team where you are able to do that. That is probably the biggest thing. Like no matter how hard you work, if you're not working on things that people care about, like a promotion just is not going to happen for you.
Yeah, I have a story. I have a story time about the why I ended up rage quitting Meta or Facebook at the time, because I was so I know my last 6 months at Meta, like one of the things that ended up happening was there's a lot of chaos on my team. My manager left, and then there was like a lot of other engineers left. And so there was a lot of actually like opportunity, right? There was like, because I was on notifications. I remember it was so crazy because I was on notifications, and then the friending DE left, and the new user experience DE left, and the fake accounts DE left, right? And I said yes to owning all of those projects and notifications, right? So at one point I was on 4 on-call rotations, all right? And because I was like, well, if I want to get promoted, if I want to be a senior engineer, I just need to do more. I need to do more. That's the goal, right? Is I need to do more. And it's like, no, that's not, that's actually very wrong. It was like I realized that like, it's interesting because I think my mindset was in the right place, but my strategy was wrong. In that, like, my mindset was in the right place of like, you do need to do more, in that like you need to exhibit new and evolved behaviors, but it's not that you need to like bust your ass and burn out. Like that's just like, it's just not good for anybody. And so ultimately I remember I like was owning these 4 projects. And then my last performance review at Meta was just exceeds expectations. And I was like, and like, I remember like just cussing my manager out. I'm like, this is exceeds. And I'm leading 4 teams. I'm like, have 4, like, and it's not just like small things, friending, notifications, like some of the core levers of growth at Meta. Like what? And it's like, and this is exceeds, not greatly exceeds or redefines. I thought I was gunning for like redefines because I'm like, dude, I'm owning 4 projects, right? But it's like, you have to have that story though, because it's like, if I'm owning 4 projects, kind of mediocrely, and it's not like something where I'm landing a lot of if I was landing a lot of impact in all of them, then yeah, it would be that would have to be what it is. But like that's literally not possible, right? You have to focus. Like you have to like pick one, maybe two big things to do in the half and deliver on that. And if you try to deliver on more than that, like you're going to get burnt and you're going to hate it. And like I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot from just like, yo, you need to say no more and focus on the storytelling and all that stuff. And it was very interesting though, because there is another element of this storytelling that I think I mastered during this period of time as well, is that like, because I also felt like they were treating me unfairly and that like I did deserve senior engineer and that I did deserve to be promoted. And that's when I went and interviewed at Netflix and they were like, yeah. And one of the things that I think is crazy, and I'd love your thoughts on this, is like, this is like one of the things I think why I have a hard time staying at companies is the more data the company gets on you as an engineer, the less likely they are to promote you in some regards. Like, or they will extend the horizon because they essentially will be like, we're going to promote this person the slowest possible, at the slowest possible pace that they will allow us to promote them at. Right. Yeah. Whereas like if you interview, you have leverage. Right. And it's like, hey, like, no, I want to take it at this level. Right. And I want to and so I think, but I would love your thoughts on that, because the other thing I noticed with this is that mentality. If you take that mentality and you adopt it throughout your career, it hurts you in the long run. It hurts you in the long run at 7-10 years deep. Because, in the interviews I've done in the last year or two, when people are like, Zach, you're only going to stay 2 years, that's not enough. It's not enough. Right. So yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, because I know people love the job hop, and I'm a legend for it, but I also am cautious about it now.
Yeah. So I think that's well said. I mean, I feel like early. So here's what's happening. Humans are averse to pain and friction, right? Interviewing is painful. It's high friction. It's uncomfortable to be judged. It's uncomfortable to spend dozens of hours doing leak code or system design or behavioral interview prep. It's uncomfortable to network for most engineers. And so most engineers, even if they're at an okay job, I'm getting a good paycheck, at a decent company, they would rather tolerate that and stay put for a lot longer than probably is best for them. So that's why I think companies are effectively taking advantage of the fact that engineers don't want to go through this very high friction process to job hop or interview. And so they don't need to pay you as much. The consequence of that is, especially when you're junior and you're rapidly improving your skills and you're rapidly getting better at shipping production code with high quality and leading projects, you are probably going to be underpaid, which is why I think job hopping, it seems like it worked really well for you early on. Yeah. That actually is super effective, I would say, in the first 2 or 3 jobs you have, maybe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you get to a staff or senior staff principal level, at these very high levels, I think it stops becoming effective. The reason is that a lot of the impact you have at that level is through other people, not through the code you write directly. In order to have impact through other people, you need to have their trust. You need to have tenure, right? Trust is not something you can build up. Hey, I'm day one, now you trust me. No matter my credibility, no matter my background, I just need to interact with you. I need to get lunch with you. Probably I need to understand how you operate in meetings. You need to see how I operate. And then over the course of 6 months, 1 year, we'll trust each other more. And I'll also gain more business context. And then after a year or two, now I'll be able to have the ammunition, the people around me, to actually lead a much bigger project, which will lead to a staff level promotion, right? So if you're constantly job hopping, 10 or 12 years into your career, I think that's a detriment. Number one, you'll be labeled as a job hopper, which is going to be a bad look. And number two, I do think that's going to hold you back from the most senior levels, because at those levels, you just have to stay put and find projects and people that you can learn with over the long term, or lead a project with over the long term.
Yeah. 100%. That's and then it's you want to essentially I think that there's this ideal path of okay, maybe the first 2 jobs you hop a little bit, and then you land somewhere, and then you stick around for maybe 4 or 5 years, and land and really show I have a lot of leadership, I have a lot of value, and then and then that's what you can kind of build into. All right.
Yeah. I think I didn't plan it out so deliberately, but I feel like I got really lucky in my career because I kind of followed exactly what you just said. You know, I graduated, I did a startup, and that ended actually really abruptly. Like within, I believe, 7 months. I joined in the summer of 2014, and then in January 2015, it got acquired by Pinterest. So a very short tenure, like 7-8 months at the startup. And at Pinterest, I was there for 2.5 years. I did ship meaningful projects, and then at Meta, I was there for 4.5 years. So you can see like each progressive stint was meaningfully longer. And that actually is like in my mind, I think I got super lucky that each one led to a meaningful promotion and a meaningful compensation bump at the company and also when job hopping. So that's kind of like what I recommend to people is try and have the kind of geometric progression of tenure when you're early on in your career.
Yeah.
And by the way, like, it's okay. Like, there are people who come to me and say, hey, like, I joined a company. It was a mistake. Like, it was a really bad call. Like, the manager is horrible. In that case, I don't stay somewhere for 2 or 3 years if you're really unhappy there. People will forgive 1, maybe 2 instances where you like left after 6 months. But if that's a pattern, you've been at 5 companies now where you left within 4 or 5 months. That is
that's really bad. That's really bad. Yeah. Like, I mean, at least stick a year, right? Stick a year, right? I mean, let your stocks vest. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, so I think like one of those instances, okay, you know, like, the company decided to go in a different direction. I guess it was not as compelling. Like, you could kind of manufacture a story, which is truthful, but you could say something which is like, here's why it wasn't a good fit. But if that happens like 4 times, now it's a reflection on your poor judgment rather than it being like, you know, you had like 5, you got unlucky 5 times. Probably not. It's just like you are not willing to stay put through the hard times.
Yeah. And that, like, you know, being able to show off like conflict resolution skills and, you know, accepting feedback and all that stuff is super, super important. Like, okay, like one of the things that I like to talk about and that I think was a very, very important part of my career is that, like, in 2015, right, I was like, Spark is the future. Spark is the future. I recognized Spark super early, super early, like, because it really didn't become like fully adopted until like about 2021. Like, so I was like about 6 years early when I was like, okay, this is the future. This is where everything is going. And like, and I really do believe that that was like one of the things that dramatically changed my life, because then it was like, when people were hiring in 2018, 2019, I think that was like really at the end of the day, like when I was at Netflix and I like got staff at Netflix and I was 25 years old and I was in way over my head. The only reason that I really got there was because I learned Spark early. Right. It's kind of like, I feel like me learning Spark in 2015 was kind of like, you know, when people are like buy Bitcoin in 2011 or whatever, that was my buy Bitcoin moment. Right.
Why did you have so much conviction in Spark?
I felt like there was a couple things there. Like, one was, like, I'd been working with Java MapReduce, the old like Hadoop framework. And then like, I just ran one, I just tried it with Spark and I was like, how is this 100 times better? Like, it was like, just like what you were saying earlier, where it's like Gemini is producing 50x tokens, right? It's 50x tokens in 1 year. It's like, when you have these moments of like, okay, this technology is not even 10x, but it's like 100x.
Yeah.
If you see technology that is in that space, that it has like, you run the same job and like the same processing, but with this new technology. And then I saw that, I'm like, okay, I'm bought in, I'm sold. I'm gonna go all in on this. This is definitely what I want to do. And so like I found that to be really, really awesome. And so like that was kind of like how I approached learning Spark. But what I was curious from you is, because I know some of these technologies in like the data engineering space. I'm curious, like, if you know of any technologies that might be in that early stage right now that might, obviously could be risky to like learn because it might not work out. But like, do you have any suggestions of like what people might learn for like jobs in 4 or 5 years?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, one quick fun fact. My startup that I did in 2014, I remember it was an ML startup. We were doing recommendation systems. And so one of the major things I did during that time was I did a lot of MapReduce jobs. I did like Hadoop. I was managing like these Hadoop data munging things. We had tons of data processing, and it's like a long time ago, so I don't really recall it, but I just remember being super painful. So like I don't think I've ever tried Spark actually. Like Facebook has their own similar version, but I could totally imagine something being 10x better, because I just recall viscerally, like I was struggling a lot as a
Mhm.
22-year-old back in 2014. I think what's interesting is that, like, when you talk about like what to bet on, like that's what you did, right? You made a bet on Spark, and it paid off, because it is now like it blew up in the industry as a data engineer.
Yeah.
I can tell you the opposite story too, where like I remember shortly after I joined, like at the tail end of my time at Pinterest, before I joined Facebook, 2016, 2017, I was really into voice. So I don't know if you recall, Zach, like how early you got an Alexa device or a Google Home device.
Yeah.
I had just gotten like an Alexa, I think, and I was like very into it. It's like, this is the future. I'm going to become the best developer in the world when it comes to making these apps. Like they just open up the third-party app ecosystem. So if you make an Alexa app or a Google Home app, I'm going to be the best person in that.
Yeah.
So I spent a bunch of time. I actually published a couple of things. There was like one Google Home app that I made where it's like it would quiz you on capitals of the world. So it's like, what's the capital of, Ghana? And then you would kind of answer it. So it's kind of a cute game. But that was a bet where looking back, I think it didn't pan out the way I expected it to, right? Like today, 2025, I don't think there's as much hype or as much usage of these voice AI apps compared to the promise that people thought there would be in 2016. But I don't regret it. I think that what I tell people, it's like what Mark Andreessen or Andreessen Horowitz, that VC firm, says. It's like strong conviction, loosely held. Strong beliefs, loosely held. So I think that mentality works out really well. Like if you have a belief that some technology or some domain will be really big, that's good. You should have conviction.
Yeah.
But then I think that the key is, if you end up being wrong, which is totally fine to be wrong. Like it sounds like you were really prescient with your bet on Spark. I was not. Like I didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but I was able to course correct quickly.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say is like at a meta point. To your question directly, like what do I think is going to be big going forward? I feel like it's so hard to make these predictions. I've been reading more and more about MCP. So I'm just like making this up. So like don't take what I'm saying with any kind of conviction. But I do think that, if you just look at the trend of like every single job is going to be really meaningfully changed by these AI tools and these LLMs. And so a core part of that, a core consequence of that is, how can we make sure the tools we use can hook up easily with the prompts that people are using? And that's where my understanding is MCP, Model Context Protocol, or there's another one that Google came out with, which is complementary to MCP, called A to A, agent to agent. How do agents interact? That kind of stuff is going to be really critical. So just understanding how does that apply to whatever your company is building. That could be an area where you're going to be just you can very quickly become the expert in that topic relative to anyone at your company with like probably a week or a month of research. So that's an area where, it might be interesting to take a bet on that.
Oh yeah. And like, I want to just let it be known that like, I'm not like the Warren Buffett of picking technologies. I'm not like betting on Spark and I'm like, I won. All right, let's go. Like, I mean, I spent like, did you ever work with CoffeeScript at all?
A little bit. Yeah. I remember.
I wrote like 10,000, 20,000 lines of CoffeeScript. Like, and I was like, dude, this is the future. I was like, this is where JavaScript is going. Right. And like, no, definitely not. It had so many other problems. CoffeeScript had so many nasty little problems with it. And definitely like I had a bunch of those where I was like, I did that. I bet on Android quite a bit. Like I was all about like Jelly Bean. Jelly Bean was Android is what kind of like worked out for you, right? Was that what you did at Meta?
Yeah, exactly. For most of my time at Meta, I was doing Android stuff. And then I did developer infrastructure near the end of my time. But yeah, I think that's the other thing too, is like Android now, I don't think is as exciting as it was. Like I started doing Android in 2015. And the reason is that was a top priority of the company. Like Pinterest was trying to go international. If you're a consumer app and you want to go international, you have to have a compelling Android app. Like there's no way, because like iOS is not as big outside the US or like Japan, a few countries. So like the top priority company-wide was, we just need to build a really, really good Android app. So it's okay, let me go learn that and contribute. I don't think right now Android is as important to most companies. And so like, choosing Android, if you're a good Android developer, you will have plenty of opportunities, but it is not that is not a domain with as much tailwind today as it had in 2015, 2016. So these things, you have to ride the train as far as it'll take you, but then you have to be comfortable hopping off that train and getting on another one if needed.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that way about data engineering a little bit, like when I left Airbnb in 2023, because I was like, it just feels like there's a little bit more of a tailwind on this creator economy than there is on data engineering. And I was like, all right, let's go all in on that, right? And I mean, you know what's interesting though? I have another kind of just story time. Like, so for me, like, you know, I got in at Meta, and I didn't go to Stanford. I went to some random school that, you know, when I got in at Meta, I was the only employee at Meta from my college, the only one out of 40,000. It was just me. And so one of the things that like allowed me to stand out though was I actually had an Android app. I had an Android app that had 50,000 users. Yeah. So like I had and I built this. It was for like Magic the Gathering, right? And I built it. It was all on like, it's like this nasty like jelly bean monstrosity that like, you know, I still have the code base for it, but it's like, oh my God. Like, and like, but like one of the things that like was interesting though, is that project is what I talked a lot about that project in my interview, even though I was interviewing for a data engineering role. It's just like, I talked about that and I was like, hey, like, I think that is something that I like was able to find what should I say here? The story that got me my big break, right? Was like, even though like I never did mobile development ever as a job ever, right? But I did build I hacked on something, and I caught the wave of like the Play Store, and like got it where it was just like there was so much free reach and all that stuff. So like definitely.
I mean, I feel like one of the things that I've observed about the best engineers is, maybe the word I'm looking for is eclectic. Like, it's one of those things where like I am interviewing an engineer and they're like, oh, you know, I had this like really interesting hobby about flying kites. So I decided one weekend to like go make a web app or an iPhone app about the best places or times to find to fly a kite. Right? It's like they're kind of like, there's not a fear of like, okay, I'm a data engineer, therefore I'm never going to do mobile. Like the best engineers are like, okay, I'm an engineer, give me whatever the problem is and I'll just hack something together. Like I will run through walls. I'll be able to make something happen. It may not be the prettiest, but like I think the best engineers have that like ability to just go make something happen. And if you have that, I think it makes for a really interesting story. So like one way to kind of think about your career is just like, what are the things you can do, the apps you can build, the hacks that you can explore, the technologies you can just dive into that will make for an interesting story. And I feel like you're one of these people. I have a couple too, but you're one of the people who have tons of stories. And that's why it's like a magnet. Like you attract job opportunities, you attract people, you attract really cool things based off of all the stories that you've collected.
Yeah, and I just have like another random story time about this that I think is very random and interesting, and that like these technologies are more connected than you would think, because it's like a lot of people think that data engineering is Python and SQL, right? And then I did Android. Android is Java, at least back then. I think it's more Kotlin now, but it was Java back in the day.
More Kotlin heavy now.
Yeah, and like it was Java, and then like it had another technology in it, Gradle. Gradle was the other, like the build technology of Android that like I learned quite a bit about when I was building out my Android apps. And then I didn't use this technology. So like I did that in like 2015, and then I didn't use the technology again until 2019 when I was at Netflix. And like I was working on Spark, because Spark is also JVM. Spark is Scala Java, right? And I was able to improve the build system of the Spark jars so I made the binary 90% smaller than it was before, and it cut deploy times by like 80% for the whole company. Every data engineer at the company, and it's like the only reason I had the confidence to even approach that problem is because I knew Android. Which is random. It's very random because those things are not connected at all. Like if you think about it, but like that was the thing that allowed me to feel more like confident in those builds. Because if I was just more of a data-focused data engineer, I would have not. I would have been like, "Ooh, Gradle, gross," right? I would not even touch that problem, you know. So I think, yeah. Go ahead.
I have a similar story. So like at Facebook or Meta, the main project, or like one of the main projects that got me promoted from senior to staff, was I built this internal tool. Basically, we were working on an Android operating system called Portal, and there were a lot of bug reports. And so most of the developers on that team, they just knew Android. So it's like kind of the opposite of what you're describing. Like everyone was like deep into Android. We used something called Buck for our build system, but I was coming into Facebook, I like dabbled, I would say. I would dabble in a bunch of different languages. So like I knew enough to be dangerous in Python and Hack. Hack is like the derivative of PHP that Facebook has. JavaScript, Python, Hack. Those are the three that I think I roughly knew, but certainly not to the extent that I knew Java or Kotlin or my peers on Portal knew. But I built out an internal tool which basically handled all the bug reports coming into Android, the Android product we were working on. And that internal tool required a use of a very different tech stack, right? Because it was like basically a web app. And so I was able to leverage a lot of that backend knowledge in Python, the Hack front end, and some JavaScript. So like I think the theme here is that like if you can collect these different experiences, the intersection of those makes you more unique, and that is where you can have unique impact. Because if you're like the best Android developer in the world, I mean, it's hard to do that, but like there are many other really, really deep Android developers. But the people who are both good at Android and who are really good at data engineering, kind of like what you described with your story, that is a much more difficult combination to find. And that is how you can usually get a more outsized career impact rather than just trying to be the best at one particular technology or language.
Definitely. And that's like one of the things I talk about, and it's content that goes pretty viral on LinkedIn a lot, is that like really it's the like if you want to make the absolute most money as a data engineer, you have to have the software engineering and the build and the statically typed languages, and like you have to have those skills as well. Because if you're just Python and SQL, like it's hard to like get to that next level and have that next level kind of like horizontal impact on the company, because like those technologies just don't enable that as much as the more traditional kind of software engineering technologies do.
Actually, one question I have, I think a lot of people might be having, when you made that bet on Spark, I'm curious, like what was the next step? Like you had this in your head of, okay, this is going to be the next big thing. What did that mean? Did that mean just like, I want to now read the source code for how does Spark work? Does that mean that I'm going to just build out a lot of application layer things with Spark? What exactly did you do with that?
That's good. Like, I mean, so initially I figured out that was the thing. And then I did a lot of like just reading on it and understanding of it. And then I shelved it for a little bit, because then I got the job at Facebook and I was like so excited about doing things at scale. And then I was at Facebook for about 6-9 months. And then like, I was like, I'm like, Facebook is dumb. Like, what are they doing? Why are we using Hive? Like, I don't know. There was something where I was like, it was very disconcerting to me that I was like, y'all like could easily adopt this other technology and things would be just so much better. It'd be so much better. And one of the things that I pushed for was I worked a lot with like the diet team, data infrastructure efficiency team, those guys. And I was like, hey, can we get some Spark machines? Can we just like, can I move? Because then I was like, can we move 5% of our Hive machines to Spark machines just so I can play around with it and show the impact, right? And then we moved it. And then I showed them like, okay, see, you move 5% of the machines and I save us 30% of the compute. Right. And then it was like, oh, see now. And that was where notifications was over quota. Their compute quota they were over quota every day for 3 years. And then when I moved that over, that was the first time they were under quota since like 2014, 2015 or something like that. And I was like, see, we need to be using Spark. And so like I did it in a very like methodical way, because I was like, I want to not just learn Spark, but I also want to apply Spark. I want to like use it in a way where I'm like, I can show a win. Right. But I think initially you were right in that, like in that learning journey was like really understanding, okay, why is it good? Because Spark is like, it's interesting because if you look at Spark versus Hive, it's not like just 100 times better for every pipeline. It's not like that. It's actually like there's very specific shapes of pipelines where the migration does do like a 100x improvement. And then there are some shapes where it does nothing. Right, it does literally nothing. There's actually no significant improvement versus Hive, and so like and it's like being aware. And I think that was the other thing that I was reading up on, and just like reading a lot of papers from Berkeley and all this stuff of just like, okay, like shuffle and understanding the layer underneath, right? Like what is Spark doing? What is MapReduce doing? Like what is actually happening? How is the bytes and how is the data being moved around in these systems? And then like, if you understand those kind of the architecture, like the actual underlying architecture, then like you can really start to understand the benefits and the risks of when to apply which one. right? And I think that was, and then ultimately we got more Spark machines. We moved like 30% of the compute to Spark, and I was like, that's right, let's go.
That's massive impact. When you joined Facebook, you were mid-level, E4.
That was
right?
E3.
Wait, so that's shocking to me. So you were able to go to this data infra team as an E3 and tell them, please convert these data servers from Hive to Spark, and they listen to you as an E3?
That's where like having the right manager really helps, right? Because it's like at the end of the day, like what ended up happening there was like I definitely got under leveled when I joined, because I got hired in at E3, but like I had 2 years of experience. I already had almost 2 years of like big data engineering experience at like Teradata and the US government. And so like I definitely got down leveled when I joined. But like then 6 months, boom, E4, right? It was like one half, right? And so like that's what allowed me to kind of move. But like the only reason that I feel like that was even possible or doable is because I had a manager who was like trusted me. He just trusted me very quickly and very instinctively of like, yo, this guy can see like the future and sees where things are going. And so like I think that like had I had like more maybe of a middle of the road manager, that would have been a much more challenging thing to do than like with the manager who I had. I mean, ultimately, this manager is the guy who I also worked with at Netflix, because he left Facebook and he went to Netflix, and then I hopped to Netflix and I worked with him again because he was just such a just such an amazing manager. And I was like, dude, like I would want to work for this guy forever, right? Like,
interesting. And that actually is another really good point. I feel like the relationship you have with your manager is by far the most important work relationship you will have. So if you don't have a mutual level of trust or transparency with your manager, that is really going to hold you back, especially at the very senior levels. Like if your manager is like lukewarm about you as a staff engineer, there's no hope of you getting promoted. So I mean, it sounds like you got really lucky with this amazing manager. And not only were you able to get promoted within one half, but I've never heard of someone like that new to Facebook, so young, like an E3, be able to make that it sounds like a pretty meaningful infra change. That is like shocking to me. So I mean, that's the power of a good manager.
Yeah, and the power of reading and knowing where technology's at, right? And knowing like where like why certain tech is bad. And that like it's interesting though, because I think that like you got to be very mindful of these things. Because another technology that I love to talk about here, because a lot of engineers hate it, is Airflow and like kind of that orchestration technology. They're always like, oh, why are we using Airflow? We should use Dagster or Prefect or Mage or all these like next generation orchestration. But the problem is, and why no one is migrating, right? For the most part, people are just sticking with Airflow, is it's not 10 times better. It's not 100 times better. It's like 20% better. And so it's like, there's a lot of inertia. There's a lot of inertia. Like if the technology isn't like shockingly better, like people are like, I think we're just going to stick with what we got, right? We're just going to stick with the current stack because it's just such a pain to move. And so like, that's where like it's important when you're an engineer and you're coming into a place and then you look at technology and you're like, because it's very easy to look at a code base and be like, this is debt, this is bad, right? But then like you might not understand the whole business context or like why it is that way, and you need to like give yourself some time. Like, did you have any experience with that? Like,
totally, So I mean, I think there are two parts to it that I think are really interesting. One is what you said, that there is always a pain to the migration, and so unless a thing like in startup land, what I see or what I tell people who are doing startups is you can't just be 10% better, right? You have to be 10x better. Whatever product it is that you're working on, the workflow or the cost or the latency has to be 10x better than the incumbent solution. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard for you to get the attention or get the trust that people need to try using your product. So that's number one. If you're in a big tech environment, there's going to be a ton of tech debt, right? There's another part too, which I think is a lack of awareness, which is that, you know, I'm sure if, you know, you worked at big tech, a lot of people watching probably are in big tech, like Facebook. And I'll tell you, at Facebook or Google, these companies are a bubble. Like you have literally tens of thousands of engineers working 40, 50 hours a week on their narrow part of the code base. And they don't have time or they don't have the interest to go out and look at the cutting edge new technologies or tools. And so one of the best things I did when I was at Facebook is I started a YouTube channel talking about Android. I was 100% focused on, I actually had this fear, like I'm a decent developer in the Android ecosystem at Facebook. And there's so many abstraction layers. I don't know how much Android you did at Facebook, but like I remember there's a concept of a fragment and activity. And like Facebook's Android app would have like 4 layers of abstraction on top of the core fragment of Android or the core activity. There's all this like things of logging or authentication, all this complexity. So like as a Facebook developer, you would get really deep in the details on what are the differences on that. But I felt like I had a fear that if someone gave me a blank code base and said build out an Android app, I wouldn't know how to do it. And so my thinking was, okay, I don't want to be that developer who only can operate within the context of this big framework or code base. Let me go and make my own app. And in the process of making my own app, I'm going to teach people how I'm approaching it. And that was the genesis of my YouTube channel back in 2019. And so what was magical about that is after I'd done that for a little while, I started to learn different techniques. I was doing it all in Kotlin, which is like the newer language. There were a lot of people on my team who had no idea about these new idiomatic ways of approaching things with Kotlin. And that is a really good example of immediate impact. There's not really a tech debt issue there. It's like, it's basically, hey, here's something you can do in code review, point it out. And people are like, wow, that's a great tip. Thank you for sharing that. So that was a huge impact for me right there. And then there were other things like kind of what you're alluding to, which did have like tech debt. And then in that scenario, you have to make a compelling case on, hey, here's this thing I learned about this hot new Android library. Here's why it does make it life way, way better. And if you can convince people on that and like help with the migration, that is a huge amount of impact. That's like a very senior level behavior. So if you are junior mid-level, that is like a really cool algorithm to find impact. If you're in big tech, just spend a weekend doing a vanilla tutorial using cutting edge stuff and figure out what is the delta between that and what your current workflow. And I can almost guarantee you that in a big tech company, there's going to be a lot of things that are just not so good about your current setup at work, at your day job. Start chipping away at that and figure out, okay, what are the ways I could make that better?
Oh yeah, that was and one of the things that I think is super important is a lot of these companies are kind of, at least Netflix and Airbnb was like this. Facebook was a little different. Was this whole idea of like this paved path or this paved road where it's like the infrastructure teams are like, build your stuff in this specific way and your life will be easy.
Yeah.
And that like a lot of times like you'll inherit a project that isn't built in that way. And that was something that happened with me at Airbnb is I inherited like the price pipeline, which was like just, but it supplied prices for the whole company. And I was like, okay, this is a freaking kind of a critical pipeline, but it was like also just slapped together with like, paper clips and chewing gum. And I was like, let's get this on the paved road and paved paths so that we can like just not suffer so much. Right. And that's that's another way to like kind of looking at like debt and prioritizing things. It's like, if it's a high impact, risky thing with debt, then it's like, okay, that's probably something that you want to prioritize and make it a little bit higher on the list versus like maybe building a new pipeline or building a new feature or, all the other kind of angles that you can approach this stuff from. But I mean, that's amazing. So let's take a couple questions here, Rahul, because we're gonna need to let Sundus in about 5 minutes.
Nice.
But let's see if we can get some questions from the audience here.
By the way, real quick, I'm just wondering, Zach, how are you feeling? What is this? You're 2 hours in now into the 24-hour stream. Do you have a bunch of coffee or activities planned out for when
in between, I've been doing jumping jacks and definitely doing some stretches and jumping jacks in between each, because I get 5-10 minutes in between each set, right? And then definitely coffee. I have the whole set, right? I have I already had one coffee at an 8 a.m. coffee. Then I think I'm going to do a coffee at noon, then a coffee at 4. It's essentially like a coffee every 4 hours is like my kind of strat. I think that will kind of like, carry me to victory. I might avoid the 4 a.m. coffee. That one might be dangerous. That one I might skip. I'll have to see depending on how delirious I am at that point in the stream. But definitely, for everyone who is wanting the discount, right? So the second letter of the discount code is L. So the second letter is L for the discount code. So y'all can try it out, see what's going on here. So Rahul, I'm currently giving out 1 letter of a discount code every hour. And then for every segment, there's a 4-letter discount code that people can try. And so the second letter here is L, but you guys have to watch the whole thing, right? So
I like it. That's smart. Get their attention up.
Yeah, right. Keep them up. Yeah, retention, right? So let's see here. if anyone has any questions for Rahul, that would be amazing. We can definitely like he's definitely here to answer at least like probably 1 or 2 questions here, so we can someone's like, how many Red Bulls are you planning to drink today? I mean, I'm a coffee guy. I don't know, like every time I drink Red Bull, I feel like I don't know, I feel cracked. I feel very like, I don't know, there's like an anxious like side of it that I don't like, right? That like coffee doesn't give me. Coffee, I think coffee has like some sort of like something else in it that like doesn't make me feel so like insane.
Are you a daily coffee drinker?
Like, oh yeah, for sure. Like 2, 3 lattes a day, dude, every day for sure.
Dang.
That's like,
is it homebrewed or like do you have a specific shop?
No, like so for me, it's like I am such a homebody, right? And because I'm just a creator, I don't have an office or anything, so like I always just go get financially wrecked in the city because it's like that's what I'm like. It makes it so I actually go. I walk outside, right? I love the cafe. I don't necessarily love the coffee, but I love the cafe, and I love like the fact that it gets me out of the house, gets me walking the dog, and gets my day going. Today's a little different because I'm like needing to like power through all of this, but yeah, this is gonna be it's gonna be great. Like
I'm the same way. I feel like I actually don't drink coffee that often, but I love going to a cafe. Something about the work environment. So for context, for the past 3 years with Taro, we've never had an office. Yeah. So like I'm the same way. Like I've gone to a coffee shop for the environment of like, it's something about seeing other people at work mentally trigger something in me, which I think is actually very healthy. And we're finally getting an office in Palo Alto, by the way. So whenever you come back to the Bay, Zach.
Oh no, I live here now. I live in San Francisco.
Oh, you're in San Francisco. Okay, so then
I'm here the whole year. So yeah, I'm back in Soma. So yeah.
Okay, amazing. I'll let you know when I come up, and then when you're in Palo Alto, let me know.
Yeah, for sure. This person's asking a good question. Can you please tell me again what the paved path is? So the paved path is a set of processes and architectures that are fully supported by the company's infrastructure team. So it makes it easier to develop because like you get a lot more support from the infrastructure team. So that's essentially it. Amazing. Well, Rahul, thank you so much for coming here today. Let me get your LinkedIn. It's like what's
I can send it
link?
to you.
Oh, here, I got it. So I just like want to throw it up here. So y'all can check out Rahul's LinkedIn there. That's probably a good place to find him. And you have YouTube too, right? Is your YouTube, is it Rahul as well? Is it under
it's youtube.com/rpande1234.
Oh, it's the same as that. Okay, yeah. Okay, let me put that up. youtube.com/rpande1234. Yeah, there we go. That one.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. It's always fun chatting with you, Zach. Hopefully we can do like an in-person coffee run. And if people watching have any questions, like my whole purpose now is just I want to be able to help accelerate careers. So happy to help out.
Yeah. Taro's amazing. Definitely check out Taro. Taro's a very, very good place to get a lot more of this, very, no BS advice on how to grow your career and how to like get through all of this stuff. Right. So definitely excited for that, man. Awesome.
Well, thanks for having me, Zach. I hope you can power through without too much additional coffees. And
yes. For sure. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rahul. Yeah, have a good one, man.
Bye. See you.
Interesting. Someone has already guessed the coupon code. Y'all are smart. There's not that many freaking combinations of things that it could potentially be, but like, how's everyone doing? Are y'all feeling good? I need to like shake my legs a little more. I gotta check on the dog real quick. Come on. You gotta be on the stream. For just a second, dog. Oh, sorry. Come on. Wait 1 second. Hey, everybody. We got a dog. She just wanted to say hi. Lulu. Who's a good dog? Okay, you can go. Have a good time. Ooh. Okay. Doing good here. Ooh, okay. All right. Whew. Amazing. Coffee is for debugging. Tea is... At what level of scale is the paved path from a platform team of value in your opinion? I think it's super valuable. I think it's like one of the most valuable things ever. Dude, if y'all have already figured out the code, that's freaking brutal. Yeah, y'all have gotten it. Y'all are sneaking in here. I love it. Yeah, hi Lulu. Where did you get your hoodie drip? I mean, this hoodie is just vibing, right? So our next person is going to be really awesome. We have Sundus Khalid is going to be next. Should be really great, right? You need a stand-up desk. I actually do have a stand-up desk. It's just freaking like not plugged in or something right now. Let me see if I can actually get that plugged in. Maybe I'll take the next one standing. I'll probably do take the next one standing. That's like a very like that's actually a very like, oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah. We're moving up. We will take the next freaking we'll take the next one with Sundus standing. All the way up. Up. All right. Amazing. We'll take the next call completely standing so we can just have like all the stuff rolling and should be much better. Not all like hunched over like a freaking little, gremlin. I'm waiting Sundus. Yeah, Sundus is going to be here in 3 minutes. If y'all have any questions about anything, I definitely am here to answer it. Like, I'm here for only another 22 hours, y'all. 22 hours. So like, we're getting there. We're alive. We're crushing it. We are stepping through things, right? And I'm really excited to see where all of this goes. Sinking into the ground, slowly dying, slowly freaking falling away into. I'm just gonna drift away into the madness, right? I like the point Rahul made about learning. Remember to hydrate. Thank you. I'm gonna go get some water. How's it going, everybody? Dude, y'all are smart. Y'all are so smart. Like freaking, is the discount code already gone? Oh no, it's not gone yet. Okay, good. Freaking amazing. So yeah. Hey, what's his name? Lulu. Y'all should follow Lulu if y'all are interested in more dog stuff. Like you should definitely follow Lulu. Lulu is right here. Lulu turned 12 recently. She's getting there. She's getting up there. She has like a weird floppy ear now. Like I'm like a little bit nervous about her little floppy ear, but we are definitely figuring stuff out here. Like how's everyone doing though? Like, I mean, are y'all like excited? I mean, we are now like what, almost 10% done? At the end of this one, we will be more than 10% done. Then I just got to do what I did 10 times. Rahul Pandey. Right. This is amazing. I'm excited to see how much like watch time is on this live, because like I'm holding like 400 people right now on this live. It's freaking madness. Like just the amount of freaking publicity and effort and energy that is happening here, that is just like really kind of coming together here, right? But will Lulu make an appearance in the live? I mean, she just did. She literally just did. Y'all missed it. I mean, she was in the live for like, she's literally right next to me. Like, I mean, like, can you see her? Can you see her? Like, she's right. See, it's kind of blurry because my camera needs to focus, but that's the dog. So, I mean, yeah. So Sundus should be here in 1 minute. This is like, I'm getting a little protein action in here, right? You gotta send it. We have freaking Sundus here in 1 minute. Damn. That was a lot. So I have like this other like doing like some watermelon juice, because it's like I need more like electrolytes and sugars and all that stuff. Will you share more about how you down Spark session setup time? I think you mentioned that earlier. Yeah, I mean, that'll probably be happening at some point, right? Do you take any vitamins or supplements? Yeah, L-theanine. L-theanine is super important. L-theanine, magnesium. I got some ghetto ass like magnesium here, right? It's literally like right here. I don't know, like I should be like, all of these should be like sponsored. Have you thought about make a gamified platform for data engineering? Yeah, that's literally something that's on my mind with Tech Creator and BigQuery and the questions that I have set up and all this stuff. So yeah, for sure, that stuff is definitely gonna kind of come about, right? I'm really excited though. Like we're gonna have damn, y'all have already used all the coupon. I'm in the stream waiting for you to let me in. Sundus, can you actually take the other here? I need to send you a different link. I emailed you a different link. I messed up. I got the wrong link to people. So I'm just gonna send it to you on LinkedIn real quick, and then can you join? Here, I'll send you the correct link. I'm sorry. I goofed, and I need to just. I'm gonna send it to you on LinkedIn real quick. There you go. Because I need you on restream. Like it's not like for some reason it's not letting me let you in right now, but we will get you in here in just a second. Amazing. I'm excited. I'm excited for Sundus to be here. Should be good. Like we're gonna be able to like have all sorts of really awesome conversations here. That should be good. Should be like trying to figure out like how much of this is gonna be like. Can you share the RAF paper which Ashwari mentioned? Yeah, we will get that rolling here. I mean, a lot of this stuff will probably be after the stream because I'm like just a lot of the stuff's back to back to back. Yeah, Sundus, did you get the link? I can here. I'll send it to you. I'm gonna text it to you too. Okay. 3 already done. Can you believe it's only not 3 done? Only freaking not 3. Only 2 are done, fam. We're getting there. slowly stepping through, slowly stepping through, like trying to figure out what is next, right? What are we gonna be doing after all this stuff? But like, I mean, Sundus should be here in just a second. I think I sent the wrong code to the creators. Ah, there we go.
You are. Okay, I think
Sorry about that,
wrong
Sundus.
link.
Sorry so much. Oh yeah, you're just a black screen right now, but you should be here in a second.
Okay, 1 second. I need to figure this out. Where are the settings? Okay, there they are.
I goofed, right?
Can you hear me though?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, 100%. You are live, and you're just like very dark. That's all. welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Let me see if I can figure this out. Oh God. Okay. There.
Oh yeah, there. I see you
okay.
now. I
now,
you're shiny.
1 second. 1 second.
We both have LED. That's great. Amazing.
No, hold on, because I'm trying to like connect to my main camera. So 1 second. This is why lives are always not as. There you are.
Whoa, you look so much better now. Just like
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you look amazing
wow.
now.
Okay. Oh wow, this is really zoomed in.
Yeah, how's it going?
Hello. I feel like I need to like sit
I'm
higher.
standing up now because I realized I have to be standing for a lot of this because that's how I will not die. Right.
How is it going?
You're hour 3. Yeah, we're getting through it. I'm freaking really pumped. I'm really pumped. It's already been an amazing.
So what's your like drink of choice right now?
So right now, like, so we're trying to not have caffeine for at least another couple of hours because I'm still pretty alert and alive. But right now I'm drinking this like watermelon juice, like because I feel like I need the sugar. I like the sugar rush right now in the AM, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how are
and then how many? I have so many questions. I was gonna keep it so casual because this is on YouTube, but then I realized this is on LinkedIn, so I had to like put my blazer on. I was like, okay, I'll just match up the professional part with the blazer. But I want to know how many hours.
I did good. So I actually intentionally went to bed at 9. So I did like 9 to 7, so like the 10. Like I'm like, because I know I had to pre-sleep, right? To like to like hopefully get at least 1 or 2 more REM cycles in there to like before I destroy myself, right? So like it's gonna be great.
Yeah. Okay. More questions before you start asking questions. How are you gonna stay awake? Like, what's the secret? I
Oh
texted
yeah.
you. You
So
never
the
responded
stack
to
right
me.
now is okay. There's a couple things like in between. I've been doing jumping jacks and push-ups and everything,
Okay.
obviously. And I just realized I have a standing desk, and that was not even a part of the strategy at all. But I realize now that's going to be a very big, important part of the strategy. And so
Got it.
that's a big thing. And then okay, then I'm thinking at the end of the first segment, which is the one after you, after Psy, I will have my first latte of the
Mhm.
day. That'll be the first caffeine of the
Okay.
day. And then
Okay.
I'm thinking I'll probably have another
Okay.
one at 4, another one at 8, and then I'll probably chill for a little bit. The one at midnight, I'm like, I don't know about. I don't know. Maybe it depends on like how much I freaking like how much that actually like how much that like because there's that trade right of like okay like this is not giving me energy anymore. It's just making me anxious, right? And then at that
Yeah.
point, it comes back to just like
Yeah.
you gotta just like you just gotta like you gotta
Yeah.
move the
I
body,
mean,
right?
I think if anybody can do it, you can do it. I think somebody already asked the question on your
Yeah.
LinkedIn post, like your bio breaks. I want to know, like,
When am I
when
gonna
are you
eat?
gonna
Oh yeah,
eat?
I already have the food. Okay, so that I'm keeping that very normal, keeping that very very normal, right? That will be I'm gonna have lunch after Psy, because that will be like
Mhm.
a nice natural break. That's where LinkedIn's nice. LinkedIn's nice because it's like it forces you to do 4-hour streams, right? YouTube lets you go for
Yeah.
12. YouTube lets you go for freaking 12, and I'm like,
Listen, I wouldn't know.
yeah,
I have
yeah.
never done
I
live
learned a
streams.
lot about this
So,
of like the limitations of these platforms. That's why it's 6 4-hour segments is because of LinkedIn. LinkedIn forces you to do 4 hours.
uh-huh.
I was gonna just do 2 segments that were 12 hours, but then I was like, oh, but LinkedIn, it needs to be on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Also, I still
yes,
have more
keep going.
questions. I know people are gonna start getting bored. If any of you are getting bored, let us know because I'll let Zach talk.
Yeah.
Um, why
Why
are
am
you
I
doing
doing this?
this?
Well, comes back to the
Yes.
purple cow effect, right? It's like because some people are like, Zach, why not 12 hours, right? Or 8, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
or 2,
Or
right?
two.
Is
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, like if you see 24, you're like, whoa, right? It makes everyone think about it for a second. They're like, whoa, this is a lot, right?
I
And it's
know.
like, well, and it's something that you just don't see, right? And it's like comes back to like the whole Mr.
Yeah.
Beast phenomena, right? Of like, if you see a purple cow, you have to tell all your friends about it, right? And so it's like, and if
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you see this guy going live for 24 hours straight, like you have to tell your friends about it. And I mean, we're holding like 500 people right now, like, and we've been able to hold 500 people like this
Damn.
whole time. So like definitely like yeah, it's been amazing. And that's the part about this that I'm like really, really excited about. Even though I know it's right now it's still really fun. And I know in 10 hours I will be feeling differently, but it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I definitely want to check back in
Yes.
like 12 hours and see what you're doing. And
Yes.
also tomorrow, when is your
8
last session
a.m.
tomorrow? 8 a.m. Okay,
Yes, let's
I'll be
go.
up.
Let's
So
go.
I'll
Yes,
definitely
yes. See
like
what's
check
up.
in and like send you like some good
Yes.
vibes and
Oh
like
yeah.
cheer you on to
I
make sure
mean,
like you keep going. So how
well,
are you gonna crash? What's your plan to
oh, I'm
crash
just gonna
afterward?
immediately go to bed. My bed is literally like right there. It's right there, right? So I'm like immediately just like I'm just like right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Amazing. So
Awesome.
I want to give you an intro because I think some people might not know you, even though probably everyone mostly knows you. This is my good friend Sundus Khalid. She is principal at Google, doing all sorts of awesome analytics stuff. Also content creator, very big on Instagram, very big on YouTube. Also pretty big on LinkedIn now. Like, and so like you're getting there.
Apparently.
And I find your story to be very inspiring because you've had more of like a
Thank you.
non-traditional way of getting to where you're at and getting to like this very high level of where you're at. And I think that that's something that
Right.
is very inspiring. And I know there's going to be a lot of people in here who are going to take a lot of value from that because I think there's kind of this myth, this story in the zeitgeist around like, well, if you want to get into big tech, you need to go to Harvard or MIT or Stanford, and then then you can get into Google, and then you can get promoted or whatever. And it's like no, there's a lot of other different paths that can get you to where you want to go.
Right.
And like I'm
Right,
very
right.
excited to talk more about that because I think that that's a very inspiring thing that you have done. But yeah, if you wanted to introduce yourself maybe a little more, that'd be great.
Yeah, I would love to. First of all, like, thank you for such a kind introduction. Like, you always
Yeah.
are so nice to me. Sometimes I forget, like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I did that. Like listening to these intros, I'm like, oh, okay, I did that. So like what you have already shared, like I work at Google. I create content. I've been in tech for about 11 years. I graduated from University of Washington in 2013. I started at Amazon as an intern and then transitioned to working there full time. I worked as a data engineer for 2 years and then transitioned to the data scientist job family. I did that for 3 years before I decided to like leave Amazon and come join Google. And I've been here for about 5 years now. During COVID, like a lot of us, I actually started creating content. I started on Instagram, and then I realized I love sharing educational content, and I wanted to expand. And that's when I came to YouTube and started sharing content here, and absolutely love the platform, like how much in depth I'm able to go with like long form videos. So yeah, I have been creating content, and before that, oh, I also have 2 kids. They are they're very old. So it's been I actually went to school when my son was about 8 months old. So like my youngest one. So it's been a while. But yeah, like going back to why you brought me here is like the non-traditional. I definitely come from a very non-traditional background. I have a 6-year gap between my high school and my college, and we'll definitely like get more into that. But you can consider me like a high school dropout. It's easy to explain that way. But yeah, like ended up going to business school, but then realized after I started working that I actually want to do data science, and ended up kind of like paving my path. Happy to dive into any of these topics.
I mean, I think the first one I want to go into, it's going to be kind of all over the place in the order here. I don't want to go as chronological because I think like I'm just going to let my ADHD go wild here. Is why did you leave data engineering?
Honestly, people are gonna hate me because like I know a lot of your audience is data engineering. I'm trying to say how to sugarcoat this. Okay, well, you all guys let me know if I should
for
sugarcoat
sure.
this
They're
or
not
not.
babies. They're not babies. They can take it. All right.
Okay, here's the honest truth. A couple of reasons. I would say like 3 main reasons. One is that I did data engineering for 2 years, and to me, like the work became a little too repetitive. Okay, that was too direct. It's just like building pipelines over and over again. And I also wanted to be, and I've shared this in some of my YouTube videos. But I also wanted to work closer to product and business. And the data engineering is more of a back end role. So like for people who do want to do like more of a back end role and build things, like that's definitely an area that I miss about data engineering, where I do stuff, but I don't build stuff, which with data engineering, it's what's so easy to like build these pipelines and build these tables and like easily quantify that, oh, these are the number of people that are actually using what I have built. And then the third reason, honestly, I was lowballed. Like I was not making enough money. And that was, I would say, like an indirect reason, not the main reason to leave. So I wanted to like explore other job families outside of data engineering. But it's a great career. Back when I was a data engineer, 2014, data engineer hype did not exist. Now data engineers get paid very lucratively. Like what is the average compensation for a data engineer? Like 300 to 400K?
I mean, in big tech, maybe. I mean, across America, it's like 140, 150K, which is still like really good for like it's like that's the median, right? And so yeah, it's amazing. You know what's so crazy?
And what I was making, I'm sure like people would love to know since I mentioned that, like what I was making as a data engineer was in a way disrespectful. I was making about 68K.
That's brutal. That's because like that's okay. Hold up, Sundus. Like, so my very, 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 very first data engineering role that I got, junior data engineer, not in a high cost of living state, like in Utah, right? I made 80K as a junior data engineer in Utah, right? So yeah, you got disrespected. Wow. You got disrespected pretty hard for sure. Like,
I know, I did. So
you know what's interesting though, that like I actually relate a lot to your story because like. I did 2 years of data engineering at Facebook. I also felt like I was lowballed because I got down leveled when I interviewed at Facebook. I got L3 when I probably should have got L4. And I also felt like it was very repetitive. I was like SQL, Python, pipeline, data, aggregation, dashboard, done again, right? And ultimately for me, I left data engineering in 2018 and I went to software engineering because at Netflix, I didn't really do as much data engineering work. I did a lot more software engineering and infrastructure work at Netflix. And so I jumped to there, and like it was definitely different because I was like, I want more money and I want to learn different things. And then the next thing that I did was then at Netflix, I was like, oh wait, I kind of like data engineering. And then the thing that I loved about my role at Airbnb was that it was a blend. It was a very good blended role that was like both very software focused and data engineering focused. And that allowed me to kind of sit there a lot longer and not feel so like, I don't know, not feel so like trapped by like the SQL Python group by grind that like is data engineering a lot of the time, like definitely like
yeah. And working in big tech, you would know. I don't know if I should say this is going on LinkedIn. Guys, if this was on YouTube, I would be a lot more casual. And we all know that like working in big tech means like there's a lot that goes around it. Just you doing your job. You also have to like be really good at like performance reviews and like making sure like you're checking off everything. So
definitely.
I'll stop here.
I mean, I love that. And I mean, like, okay, so I guess another question I know a lot of people are asking is like, what is the what should I say here? What got you into like data engineering to begin with? Like what in 2015, like what was what drew you to, go there?
Yeah. So I would like go back to when I was actually University of Washington. I was doing business degree with the focus on information systems. And one of the advice that my advisor gave me, like within business school, like you have to like pick a major, you have to like pick marketing, information systems, finance, and all of those like different things that you have to like pick a minor within like the business degree. I ended up taking those classes, and that's when I took the information systems class. I was introduced to SQL and databases. And compared to all the other classes that I was taking, I was like, oh my God, this is actually wonderful. Like, I really enjoy this. So that was the class for me where I realized, like, this is an area where I want to like, pursue further. But I was already close to graduation by the time I took this class. So I did my 2 years at community college and transferred to University of Washington. So by the time I had taken all these classes, I literally had a year left before I could graduate.
Yeah.
So otherwise, if I could go back in time, I'll definitely go to computer science school or information system school and like do a degree there. But then I was like, okay, what are my options? Either I can self-teach, I can like take classes outside of like my business school at the information school. And then there was this certificate at the University of Washington summer program. It was called Database Management Certificate. It was like 2 back-to-back classes that basically taught you like how to do database management. Then when I did my internship at Amazon, the internship was more data analytics focused work. But some of the teammates that I worked with, they were data engineers. And honestly, I was really intrigued by the fact that they would just pack their bags and go home at 3 p.m. And I was like, why am I sitting here 6 p.m.? The rest of the team is sitting here. Well, I want to know like what these guys do. So ended up like talking to them and learning about like what they do and whatnot. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to like shift my focus and I want to get into that exact role. So I started networking within Amazon while I was doing the internship. And I was interviewing for like different teams and different data engineering role. And the class that I had taken had taught me enough that I could pass the technical interview. So eventually I had offers from like another team from Amazon, but the team where I actually did the intern, the timing was perfect. So another data engineer left the team and they just opened the headcount and they were like, why not you come join our team back? And I was like, this is perfect. This is going to be like less ramp up time for me because I already am very familiar with the data. My internship was about 8 months long. So I was very well versed in the space, in the understanding the data as well. So now it was just me doing the data engineering work and like getting familiar with like more the technical side of things. And that's how I ended up in data engineering. And I did get promoted my second year I started as data engineer 1 and then got promoted to data engineer 2. And then after data engineering 2, I decided to leave.
How did you do that? I know that there's a lot of people, like even in my audience, they ask me that all the time. They're always like, Zach, when are you doing a data science boot camp? And I'm like, I know I need to do one, but it's like freaking, I don't know. Like I don't know if I'm the right guy to do that boot camp, but like, how did you, because I think that there's kind of a, there's an idea out there for data science that's like, well, if you're going to be data science, like get a master's degree or at least a master's degree, if not a PhD, to get into the role.
Right.
Especially and it just sounds like, I don't know, based on how you're talking about it, it sounds like you just kind of like skipped into it. You're just like,
somebody just created an opportunity for me. And no, that's not. I literally put in the work. So, but yeah, honestly, like I think you bring up a really good point. You can work all the hard work that you can. Like you can put in all the hard work, but you literally have to get lucky, and the timing has to be perfect at some point for you to like get to that opportunity. So everything has to align for you to like land that opportunity.
I definitely noticed that. Like I've noticed that as well. Like even like sometimes that's one of the things that I find so weird about interviewing, right? Is that like I've found that there's actually not very much of a correlation between like how I feel I did in an interview versus like if I actually get an offer. Like it's like very like it feels like noise. It feels like, and then I'm like, because I know like, last year I interviewed at OpenAI and I was like, dude, I answered everything perfectly. I felt like I gave like, it was like the one time in my life where I was like,
yeah, I remember you texted me. You're like,
I crushed it. And then they're like, no, you didn't. Yeah. And like, I think that there's because there's a lot of other factors that can be at play, right? There's a lot of other things that can definitely be there, or that the way that you perceive yourself versus how you're perceived can also be different, right? And that can be like another kind of angle of this stuff that allows for different people to like get into different places, right? And so I definitely I'm curious about that, like, but I want to talk as well a little bit more. One of the things that I know you are a big proponent of is negotiation. Like I remember like you negotiated really, really hard for your Honda, right? Yes.
I had to. Yes. Do you know my salary? My lowball number.
And so like, I mean, I know people in here, they don't, both me and you have this kind of like, I was lowballed, I was paid probably less than I was worth kind of story. And I think that that's fairly common in, in this industry. Do you have any like maybe tips or tricks to like maybe understand where, what's the right word? Like where, like maybe red flags to look out for or things to look for, like in a role, or how to negotiate better to like get more money?
Yeah, I would answer your question in two parts. One is like what to look for. And I would specifically talk about like data scientists and data analyst roles specifically. So even though like these two job families have existed in the industry for a very long time, they're still not as standardized as they should be. And if those of you who work in this domain, like feel free to like correct me in the comments if you experience this too. But sometimes the title of the job that is open is called data scientist, but the actual work is more data analyst, or the title is data scientist and the actual work is like core machine learning or AI engineer. So first of all, like you need to understand, not just go by the job title, but you actually need to understand the core skills required that you have to basically do. And that's where like the salary component comes in. Because let's say if the job title is data analyst, but the job description says it's data scientist, then chances are that you're going to be getting data analyst salary because that's how it's marked in the system internally at that company that is opening the role. But the work that you're going to be doing is very technical. So you want to make sure like you're getting paid for the skills that you have to offer and the skills that you will be using in
skills
that
over
job.
title, right? Skills over title for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I guess like here, the question is like, you can't like really change their internal system. So you have to make a decision at that point. Like, is this a job that you want to apply to and like go further, given like compensation could not match the title. So something to consider. The other, in the terms of the salary negotiation, like I do have a course where I talk a lot about it, but like the big takeaway from my personal negotiation is that you have to work and be very smart with how you schedule your interviews. you need to schedule them in a way that they're all perfectly aligned. So when you're getting your final offers, they're like back to back to back. So because most of the offers come with a deadline. So, and more often the deadline is like around 2 weeks. So the more your interviews are coordinated together, the more chances of your final offers coming together. And the reason for doing this is because you're going to use the one offer to compete with the other offer. So you're going to negotiate with each and get the highest offer. Once you have the highest offer, you're going to take that and use that to negotiate with the company that you actually want to get into. Now, I would say like these companies would ask you for a proof for an offer. So like try to get written. Emails are typically fine. But I also like want to say like some people just fake it. Like don't fake it. Like if you get caught, like this could technically
it could
like, ruin your
yeah, it's
chances
like
at that
if you don't actually have the competing offer, because like if you fake it, like even if like you fake it really well, you like bust out Figma and you're like, all right, this is a perfectly faked offer, is like it's gonna show up in your confidence. I just feel like it's gonna show up in your like in the way that you talk about it, right, in the way that you negotiate. Like, but yeah, definitely that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Like it's interesting. Like different companies have different windows there, so I totally agree with the whole thing of like you do need to line things up because Netflix is not 2 weeks. I remember I got my offer at Netflix on a Thursday, and they said I needed to decide by Monday.
You know what? I take that back, especially in the current job market. When they have like so many candidates to choose from, they actually want to know faster.
Yeah.
Than later.
100%.
So
100%. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, that's good. I mean, so like, okay. So let's talk a little bit about like, so you took like a 6-year gap, right? And like, so in that period of time where you like raising a family, having kids, or like what was going on in your life during that period of like finding yourself?
Well, not much was going on. I had 2 kids during that time. And now we're gonna like get really sad because I'm gonna I don't share this a lot because I feel like it just I don't know, like I used to share this, but I stopped sharing this, but I'll share it for you, Zach. But when I had my second kid, he was 3 days old when I picked up this like really horrible infection and I almost died. I was in the hospital for a few days and the doctors didn't know like what to do with me. And I think like for me, that was the pivotal moment in my life where like, oh, I could actually die tomorrow.
Right.
Like, I will not only see my kid, not only will not be able to see them, but I also like don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. Like, what is my identity? So that's why I said like when my son was about 8 months old, I decided to go back to school. And I started a community college because none of the schools were like willing to accept me, because when you have a 6-year gap, like they will not just welcome you with open arms. I talked to a few counselors and they were like, your best chances is to like go to community college, prove yourself and prove that you can actually study. And I literally applied with a 4.0 GPA, and that's how they basically took me in. But it wasn't easy. Like I would say like for those people who do have kids, like, like kids can literally like take over your life. But if this is something that you want, you would like do everything possible to like make it happen.
I mean, nothing like a near-death experience to like change your perspective, right? And change like whoa,
Right,
like I'm
totally
on the wrong path here. I need to like shift my path and just shift my priorities a little bit to like get everything more into a better, more connected place. I mean, that's amazing. It's a very a very inspiring story, right? Where that like you can always change your circumstance. Like I definitely I've had similar sort of like dark moments in my life where I'm like, well, gotta change, gotta like move and like like take things, like really listen to my inner self more, right? Listen, and not just like the expectations of the people around me, but also like, what do I want personally? What is in my soul and in my heart, right? And I think that that's like a very important part of the journey as like you're kind of growing. Like, I mean, did you have any like? I mean, it sounds like you are someone who is like extraordinary at time management. Just like, because it seems like raising 2 kids, going to community college, getting a degree, getting in as a data engineer, becoming a principal, there's a lot of like things going on in your life. Like it's one of the
and
things
the
that's like,
content creation and
yeah,
this
yeah,
live.
yeah. And like, I mean, and I'm like, for me, I can barely handle like a dog. All right. Like, I feel like a dog, even if I got a second dog, I'd be like, too
Right.
much.
Right.
Right. And so like, do you have any strategies for like time management that like have been like really good for you, that like have like been something that like you would want to like, that you feel like was like maybe like an unlock for you that allowed you to like really have more time to pursue your dreams?
Yeah. I'm a people pleaser. I want people to be like happy with me. Like I never want to the old me would never want to say no. And
Mhm.
that recipe that ends up being is like you overcommit, you please everyone, and you end up with a burnout. Then I read this book called Essentialism. I think I've talked about it a few times on my social, but basically that book changes your mindset that saying no is actually not a bad thing. You
Mhm.
are doing less work, but you're doing quality work. When you're spread out too thin, the quality of your work goes down. And another thing like that was like really aha for me, because I'm a people pleaser. It said like the people actually respect you more when you have boundaries, when you say no, and when you are able to like deliver high quality work. So I always go with that mindset that if I'm committing to something, like I want to make sure like I do a really, really well done job and I have the time to commit to it. And at the same time, like I also like have a life outside. Like I have kids. I have a content creation business. I love working out. Like I literally, my leg days are 2 hours. So I do not want to compromise on that ever.
Yeah.
So I go on a daily walk. So like there are a lot of things in my life that I actually care about. And in order to like have a true work-life balance, I need to like have boundaries.
Mhm.
And I guess like when you were starting out entry level in your career, it's difficult. But as you grow in your career, as you have like build a trust with your team, with your peers, you're able to like set boundaries and they're able to respect that. But like more technical things or practical tools that I personally use for managing my time, like everything is on my calendar. On my calendar, I have lunch. I have focus time where I'm actually going to do hands-on work. So like other people don't schedule time. So I plan everything out. Like my workout is on my calendar. Everything is planned out to the T. And
Yeah.
that way I'm like not compromising family time. And one thing I've noticed with like creators in general is like they're always on their phone.
Yeah.
For me, when I'm with my family, like my phone, we're going to a restaurant, we're eating dinner, lunch, my phone is like head down. I do not touch it. I'm not like
Yeah.
taking selfies or videos. So I think like you really have to have strong values and you have to follow it and you have to like set strong boundaries to be able to like ensure that you are not compromising any piece of your life. And on the content creation, like I don't do it solo, like I have a team.
Mhm.
A huge shout out to my personal assistant who literally just does everything. Otherwise, I will be not be able to like do all of this like content creation and all of that. I outsource as much as I can. Even this morning, I actually had to wake up 6 a.m. in the morning because somebody was coming to clean my house, and that's the only time they had available. I had somebody who does my yard, so like I outsource as much as I can to kind of like
Mhm.
save time, buying time, basically buying time with money. So
That's amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing. Like, I just, like, I hired, like someone to help me with content like this week, and like literally his first task was, all right, orchestrate this 24-hour live. I'm like, we're baptizing you by fire, all right. And then
Wow.
like, and that's what he did. He was amazing. He built like, he built like a bunch of infographics that described everything that was going on, and then he
Mhm.
also built individualized infographics for every
Mhm.
creator, and then emailed them to every creator and had them post their infographic on
Yeah.
their social,
Yeah.
which has allowed for like this is, and now I'm like, wow, there's a lot, because I know if I would not be able to do that by myself, because I would just be like, this is overwhelming, I'm not going to do it, like it's just too much, like where it's like having the right people on your team and the right people behind you can be something that can be very, very powerful, right?
Right.
And I mean, I'm curious, like, you know, when you were saying when you're early in your career, I know there's a lot of people in here who are saying like, you know, that it's more difficult to
Yeah.
have like work-life balance early in your career, right?
There were days I worked till 11 p.m.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, same. Like when I was
Yeah.
at Meta, I worked 9 to 9. I worked 9 to 9 very
Yeah.
frequently, right? And
Yeah.
that was just how it was for like 18 months. And I
Yeah.
worked 9 to 9, and then like, but I realized that what that did was that like, and I was keeping a very open mind, a very spongy open mind. And then what 2017, 2018 gave me was in 2021, when I was working at Airbnb, I could work 5 hours a day. Right. And like, I was not even doing 40. And then like when I was at Airbnb, I was doing maybe 30 at the,
because you could do your work, because all the skills that you learned, instead of like taking 10 hours to do that job, now you're able to do it in 2 hours.
Yep, because you just soaked up all the information, and like,
Yeah,
because it's like that's what you can do. It's like I mean, I don't think that's you necessarily have to, like, when you're a junior engineer, you have to do that. I don't think you have to like bust your ass 12 hours a day. I think it's interesting because that's one way that you can like get ahead. It's like, do you want to pay the cost now, or do you want to pay the cost kind of more amortized throughout your career?
Honestly,
like,
like you're 100% right. That's how I see it. Like the time that I put in, basically it was an investment.
Yeah, like it's like, how do you get to 10,000 hours?
Yeah.
Do you do 8 hours a day, 12 hours a day, right? Right. And like, I think that's one of the things that I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. Like, do you think that AI is shifting that at all? Like shifting that mentality of like that you have to, like, in order to become really good at something, you have to like just bust your entire ass?
Honestly, AI is heading in that way, but as of today, we're not there yet. For example, like yesterday, I held a training on, have you heard of Notebook LM?
Yeah, Notebook. Yeah, dude,
It's
great.
basically a version of a RAG model where you can like plug in your own internal sources, internal data, or like whatever data. Like for example, if I'm building like a interview prep handbook, I can plug in all my notes and all the external resources and like build a data science interview Notebook LM. And I did this training yesterday, and one of the questions I asked in the training, I'm like, who here knows about Notebook LM?
Yeah.
0.
Whoa.
And I have been using it so much, and it has saved me literally hours of time. But you would be surprised how many people are not caught up. I think you and I, and like people who are watching on the stream, like these are the people who are like want to be on top of things, and we know like what's upcoming, what's happening in AI, how we can use it to boost productivity. But you would be shocked to know how many people are not using it. But are we heading into in that direction? Yes, you can see like how many companies are now investing in like integrating AI into their day-to-day work to boost productivity of like everyday employees and whatnot.
Oh yeah. I think one of the things here that I think is very interesting that like you brought up, and I think like where, okay, like no one knew what Notebook LM was, is like this whole idea of like you should be spending at least some percentage of your time thinking about where things are going, and like I don't know, I like, this is where Google's good, and like I don't know, I feel like Google has fallen a little bit because I don't think they do this anymore, but they had this notion of like 20% time at some point in their, in the career.
I think it's still pretty common.
Yeah, it still is. That's great. I mean, I remember like I talked with the recruiter there at one point, and I was like, "So do you guys still do 20% time?" And they said no. And I was like, "Oh, well, then I'm not going to work here." But like this 20% time is like where you spend some fraction of your work week like thinking about like innovative stuff, taking doing things that like may not work out, risky things, and then you can learn, because like sometimes those bets pay off. Sometimes they actually like go somewhere, right? And I think that's the definitely, like, not every company is going to endorse you as strongly as Google does in that way. But I mean, I bet you can get 10% time. I bet you can get half a day a week, right? To like kind of focus and learn and grow and build stuff. Like that's going to probably be doable for most companies. But like how do you prioritize stuff like that, Sundus? How do you like find like what to learn next?
Honestly, I feel like the being on social has been a forcing function, because this is gonna be too transparent. I think like being on social, I'm like, okay, what is the next thing that is happening that I need to like learn and teach my audience? So for me, like social media has been kind of like a forcing function to like learn new technologies, keep up with like the AI news and everything that is happening outside of work. Because let's be honest, like if you're working at a company, you're like a startup, it's very easy to like work 40 to 60 to whatever hours and like not worry about like what's happening outside. So you really have to like put that as a priority to like look for things and opportunities to like that force. If you need that discipline, like find something that forces you to like learn about different things. So like that has kind of worked for me. I want to know like what has been your process. Is it also like social media, or is there something?
I think it's a combination of things. I think
Yeah.
social definitely helps, because then it's like, I'll be on a stream like this and then people will be like, what about Rust? What about polars? What about DuckDB? And then I'm like, well, shit, now I got to go and like read about it. Right. And so I can have like cause I have this like intense like anxiety of like someone asking me a question, and then I just am very about just being like, I don't know about that now. Like I used to like try to like make something up, but like now I'm like, okay, but like when I get that feeling of like, oh damn, I don't know about this, I should probably, especially like, if it's like a one-off, I usually am like, if someone asks me a question one time, I'm like, okay, nah, this is not important enough. But like if I see it 5, 6, 10, 12 times, I'm like, okay, it's time to like at least do a little bit of reading. I think that's a big one. I also think that like importantly this is one of the things I love about San Francisco in particular is meetups and hackathons in San Francisco. They just give you that, like they give you an even deeper layer of that, a deeper understanding and a deeper positioning, because then you're like, wow, I'm not just like learning and reading about it, but I'm also like spending, 8, 12 hours like trying to build with it. Cause it's like at the end of the day, it's like, that's what you really need to be doing to really learn stuff, is like, because you can read about it and be like, yeah, oh, I heard that this thing is 10 times faster or 5% better or whatever. But it's like, you don't really know it until you like build with it, or you like actually like, write some Python or write some like integrate with it, like,
I'll give you another example, like going on like the content creation track. I recently did this partnership with JetBrains, and they like, this is not sponsored. Like I'm just sharing an example, like how this has been like a forcing function. And they released a new coding AI agent called Junie. It's basically, and I had to like, part of our contract was like, I'll do a project in it. And that's the project that I will kind of like show in my YouTube video. I was blown away. Was I gonna like, if I didn't have that partnership, was I gonna like sign up for this product, pay them? It's a paid product. Was I gonna do that? No way. I wasn't gonna do that. But because of this, I was actually able to like try out AI coding agent and build a live dashboard. I'm literally so blown away. It took me 10 minutes to build like a functioning dashboard. And it wrote the README file. It wrote the project design, project plan, like everything, like multiple files. It like went through my existing coding repository, and I was like blown away. I was like, if this is the direction we're heading into, like one is gonna like boost productivity like times 10. But also like it also made me realize like we need to like get smarter in terms of like logical thinking, because that's the only way we're gonna be able to like surpass and like catch up, and also like use these tools to our advantage to like keep growing in our fields.
Oh yeah, that's like the big thing that I felt like that was like one of the things for me when I was like at Airbnb, and then I saw ChatGPT come out, and I was like, whoa, this is a lot. There's a lot going on here that like there needs to be like a way to apply these things and, get more value out of these things. And like that, like and it seems like it's interesting because like I guess I feel like it's one of my life goals now, as like AI has been shifting, is to shift the perspective, because I feel like there's a lot of like fear and doubt and like uncertainty in this space around like, well, like, is this just going to be here to take our jobs? Right. Is that at the end of the day, is that all that this is for? Right. Or like, is this like, but I know when I look at it, I'm like, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? This is the way that we achieve ultimate freedom, right? There's like this, that path is not, I don't know, that path is like never talked about. Like it's always just like AI is going to come and take all our jobs and kill all of us. But we never talk about like, what if it goes right?
Right. Exactly. And I think one more thing I would say is that most of these news articles are not written by tech like practitioner. So I think that's one thing, like whenever you're reading these news articles, like you have to keep in mind, these are not actual practitioners. These are not actual coders. These are not actual data analysts or data scientists that are writing these articles. There was an article written by Forbes, I think very early on when ChatGPT was released. ChatGPT released their data analyst. I think previously it was called something interpreter or something like that. Basically, you can upload your data, and then ChatGPT will do the exploration and then like do the visualization and like spit out the report. Forbes wrote this article titled "Data Analyst Jobs Will Be Replaced by Blah Blah Blah," and it basically is fear mongering. That's all it is. And I did a video on this where I literally debunked that whole article, because what are you doing by writing these articles? Like, it doesn't make sense. So for people who have actually worked in the field or are currently working in the field and have used these tools, you should ask those people if they think like this is going to replace your job. I think you have had few people on your stream so far. Like I think Ash was here, and she literally said the same thing. Anybody, any tech practitioner you talk to, they're going to tell you like AI is not going to replace your job. It's there to be as like think of it like a coworker who you can like bounce off of ideas, a coworker who you can pair program. You still need to understand what you are doing and what needs to be done with this AI in order to like actually build something tangible with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, and knowing what you're doing, I think that's like at the end of the day, like that's the part of this that I think is very important. And I think that's one of the reasons why like I'm doing this like 10-week boot camp to like just get people like, I'm not trying to get you guys up to speed on every most amazing, innovative thing in AI, because it's like not like it's moving too fast for me to even be able to pull that off. But like getting it to a point where it's like, okay, I know what this does. I have fundamentals about this. I know like what to learn next, and kind of like have the next step forward, because then that will allow you to kind of seize that opportunity and not live in so much fear about like, oh, well, like I'm, you know, like AI is just going to come and take everything and we're done. Right. And it's like, yeah, nah, that's not how it's very interesting. It's very interesting because like, I guess my perspective on it is that like at the end of the day, this is going to be just like Google, like a Google search, right? Because it's like back in the day, engineers, like when they debugged something, they like literally just suffered and cried until they solved the problem, right? But now it's like, then there was Google and Stack Overflow and like these other things that made us 10 times faster, right? But it's like, did those things make fewer jobs? No, it's like the opposite. Like we saw an explosion of jobs. We saw more opportunities and more, you know, innovations. And like, I don't see this as any different. I do think that there's a shift. And I think this is one of the things that the big tech companies need to do better, is that they like, because they are just so driven by shareholder a little bit, because like they want to like talk to the shareholder of like, look at us using AI and being more profitable, right? That's like what they like, because that's like who they're beholden to. But like they aren't positioning themselves well in the same position of like, well, because it feels like when I've thought about like going back and working in big tech, it's like, well, dude, like I'm just fighting with AI now. It's like there's a side of it that's like I feel like their optics and like the way that they are just laying off tens of thousands of people, and they're like, and they literally say that they're like, well, AI. It's like literally like what they say in their earnings calls, right? And it's like like
it used to be machine learning before. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Right. You're totally right. It's like different buzzword, different, you know, different era, different buzzword, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember like that. There was a Juma Tech video where he's talking about blinds. I don't know if you've seen that video. That video is literally ingrained in my head, where they're like building blinds and they're like, no, put MLs in the blind, put machine learning in the blind. It's hilarious. It's a skit, but it's hilarious.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, that's so good. So like let's open it up to the questions here.
Let's do it
a little bit. So if anyone has any questions for Sundus, I definitely go ahead and drop the question here in the chat, and we can definitely get around to it. And so this is going to be great. We are now I'm now 10% done. Only I just got to do what I did over the last 3 hours. I just got to do it.
Let's do a check-in. Let's do a wellness check-in with you, Zach. How are you doing? How's it going?
Great. I'm doing great.
Really? Do you feel energized?
I do. I know like there's going to be a moment here, like probably at like 6 p.m. where I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. But it's like at this point, I'm only 3 hours in. I'm only 3 hours in. Are you
like integrating like push-ups in there as well?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
Okay.
Gotta get that strength training, right? Yeah. And like Delia, so Delia and Maddie, they're doing a live at 8 p.m. Yeah. And that one is they're actually coming to my apartment, and they're gonna do the live in person.
Nice.
So that I have a 1 hour break of screen time, so I'm not just looking at a laptop for freaking like 24 hours straight. You know, protect the eyes a little bit, right?
Yeah. Don't go blind. We need
to. So someone's asking, like, you know, if you were starting from scratch in the field of data engineering, where would you begin? I like that question.
Okay. You're not gonna like my answer. Honestly, I would go back to school. I would. Okay. Let's take a step back. There are multiple ways you can like learn data engineering. You can learn basically a data engineer roadmap exists on the internet. You can find
I have
many YouTube
I have a
videos.
beautiful one. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. You have a video on this. Like you can literally find the roadmap where it tells you like what exactly you need to learn. So technically you have three options. You can like learn all of these things on your own. You can like, let's say Spark is one of the things, you can like take Spark courses. SQL is one of the things you can learn SQL separately. Like you can do your own thing, and probably it will take you a little bit of discipline to like go through and make sure like you do all of it and then build projects on top of it. That's one option. The second option is like going through like a boot camp that Zuck has, something like that, where everything is like already organized and you're basically getting taught. Third is like going to school and then basically studying computer science with a focus on data engineering. And so like these are like the three options. Now it comes down to like what your preference is, like the time, money, discipline, the type of study environment that you perform really well at. Like all of those things need to be considered before you make that choice.
Oh yeah, I that's the one. Elon Musk has this quote that I actually kind of hate, which is you can learn anything you want for free on the internet.
Yeah.
And like it's on the surface, it's like mostly correct. It's mostly true. But then it's like if you look at like data behind it for like most people, the answer is actually false. That's like very, very few people are autodidacts. They like self-paced learning is actually a very rare skill. Like I read a study about it. It's one in 25. 1 in 25 people are autodidacts and actually are able to consistently self-learn on a regular basis. So 24 out of 25 people need some sort of structure, right? I even see this in my own data, right? So it's like if someone takes my live boot camp, there's an 85% chance they complete the material. If they take my self-paced course, there is an 8% chance. It's like it's literally 85% versus 8%. Like it's a massive gap of like where it's like, and at the end of the day, that's what I think my value prop is. It's accountability as a service. That's literally what I'm doing. Is like I'm like, here's material, learn it, and I will hold you accountable to learning this material. Right?
Yeah, and I think there's something like with human psychology. If you have paid for something, you're gonna be like, oh, now I'm gonna hold myself accountable that I'm like making good use of this money.
Oh yeah, that's why a lot of people are like, Zach, you gotta like make another free YouTube bootcamp, and I'm like, yeah, so that no one does it.
I mean, you did do it on YouTube. How did that go? I think you like took it away.
Yeah, well, it was amazing. Kind of like so, 45,000 people signed up, right? And we had 385 people completed of the 45,000 people who signed up. So it was like 0.8% of people actually like, which is.
Wait, how did you measure like their completion?
Based on like, well, because like, so I have time tracking on but there's probably more people who actually did. If they watched it on YouTube, I don't get the time tracking. Yeah. But I actually have like an embedded web page in Tech Creator on my platform, which will track their like how long they've watched each video. And so it's just based on that. So it's like if of the 45,000 people who gave me their email to sign up and watched it via the Tech Creator platform, and then I can time track, and then like I based it on like, did they watch 90% of the material? That was my cutoff. I'm like, you don't have to watch every second, but did you watch 90%? And it was 0.8%. And I'm like, oh, and there was a very viral LinkedIn post about this where like I was essentially like, and this is why people don't offer stuff for free.
I know you got a lot of backlash for it.
Yeah, right. So. People were like, "How dare you? How dare you?
How dare you give something for free and then take it away?"
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, I brought back week 1 though. Week 1 is back.
Oh, you did?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, so check it out on my channel, everyone. It's the spiciest best week. All right, let's do one more question here, and then we'll need to get ready for Psy. So okay, here's a good one. So how do you measure your worth outside of experience in fast-changing space like data engineering and data science? Ooh, that's a very philosophical question.
You're going to have to break that question down for me. What is the question again?
How do you measure your worth outside of experience in fast-changing space like data engineering and data science?
Oh, that's a very loaded question. How do you worth your...
I love it.
How do you measure your worth? Wow. Okay. I guess I think like there is some. I think it's kind of like a leading question because in a way, like our job titles, our companies become our identity, right? And you have seen like probably these posts on LinkedIn where people are like complaining, why do you put X Google or X Amazon on your title? And I think LinkedIn, you have posted something similar, Zach.
Yep, definitely.
But here's the thing: as soon as somebody puts X Google, X Amazon, the number of recruiters and the number of opportunities that open up for you like are higher. So that's like a system. So that's like one thing. If I'm putting Google on my profile, if I'm like presenting myself as Google or presenting myself as Amazon, is it because I'm trying to measure my worth with it? Not really. That it's because like that's what sells. Like that just sets the credibility, and that's why people are like putting X everything.
The signaling. Yeah, it's the
right,
signaling
exactly.
of like,
It's signaling,
hey, like,
right. In terms of how do you measure your own worth outside of work, I guess like that's where you come with like hobbies. For me, it's like specifically like creating content and teaching other people. Sometimes I get messages like where people tell me like they broke into data analytics career or data science career because I inspired them or because they use my material to learn. And that brings me a lot of like it makes me happy for them, but also like makes me satisfied that I'm actually doing something good for somebody else. So at the end of the day, like your worth is defined by your values and what matters to you besides these job titles. And if these job titles matter to you, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like everybody should be entitled to figure out what exactly is their value.
Oh yeah, I love that. I think the only thing I would add there is like, it's like if you look at like the data behind like what leads to a long and healthy life, right? If you look at those things, and there's like really solid data on this, it's like one is like how many quality relationships do you have? Right? That's a very important one. Another one is how well do you take care of your body? Like, are you exercising? Are you eating well? Those two things are very, very important for like your worth as like living a long and healthy life, right? And it's like at the end of the day, like, I mean, if you're eating well, sleeping well, and you have a lot of friends and a family that loves you, like freaking, like,
honestly, that's all you need. But
yeah, that's really it. I mean, everything else is kind of more of an illusion and a mirage, right? And that like, it's taken me a long time because I definitely drank the Kool-Aid really, really hard, especially like 2018, 2019, where like I felt like my entire worth was tied up in being a Netflix engineer. And that put me in a very dark position when I realized I wanted to leave, because then I felt like I was dying.
You're like, what am I going to do? What am I going to be known by after this?
Right. And so like, definitely like you want to be careful wrapping your identity in things that are maybe unstable, because jobs are not necessarily the most stable thing either. Right. So, I mean, awesome.
But you got to play the system. So honestly, like that's what I tell everybody, like in like the corporate world, there's corporate politics. It doesn't mean that you have to play the politics. It just means that like you need to understand how to navigate the politics. So we all live in a system, and at the end of the day, you have to learn how to navigate the system without losing yourself and your worth in the process. So so we're getting really deep. That was a very deep question.
Oh, that was a good way. I mean, so I just want to let everyone know the third letter of the discount code for this first segment is A. So definitely get ready. I'm sure some of y'all can probably guess what it is now.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Well, that's how you were keeping them alive. I see.
Amazing. Amazing.
I'm learning. Now that I'm planning to do any live.
Thank you so much, Sundus. I really appreciated it.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Have a good one, Sundus.
All right. How do I exit? Hold on.
You'll figure it out.
Let me see. Oh, God. Can you kick me out?
Can I boot you? I think so.
Oh, there.
Remove. Gone. How's it going, Sai? 1 second. I gotta like do some jumping jacks. I gotta like wake up a little bit. Gotta
need some rest.
Gotta like freaking. All right, we're 1/8 through now, though. All right, 1/8. Okay.
You need to have a lot of energy. I think it's 1/8 down and then almost. Yes.
Yeah, no, this is the first segment, though. I actually get to like kill the stream for a second after this one, right? So it's like after you, it's freaking. I took the last one standing. I'm gonna take this one sitting. So I'm a little more. Just give me 1 second.
Yep.
Almost down. Boom. Okay. How's it going, Sai?
Good. How are you? I see I've been on Aishwarya's call, Rahul's call, and Sundus' call. So they have been power
Yeah.
back a lot of insights.
Yeah, right. I mean, like I'm really, really excited to see where things go, right? And where like all this is gonna like get going. So can you give yourself a little bit more of an introduction? Because there's like 500 people on this call right now. And I would love to hear more about your story and hear more about like, what makes you tick.
Yeah, perfect. Like, thanks for having me, Jack. And then I see you've been doing it from past 3 years, and then the 20 more hours to 21 to be precise. So I'm sure you'll get there. If you were to do 48, I know you can do it.
Yeah.
If
48 would be a lot. I think 36 is where I would expire, right?
2 years down the line, you could do that too. Maybe
Yes,
your age
right.
alone could do that. So to start with, I'm Sai Kumar Baisani. I did my bachelor's back in India in electrical, and then right after my bachelor's, I moved to United States to pursue my master's in data science at UConn. And right after my master's, I graduated in May 2023. I started working as a lead data analyst at Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina. It's been 2 years. I mean, it's going to be 2 years in 1 month. So I'm really excited to get my 2 years mark. And coming to my content creation side of things, it's been almost 1.5 years since I've started creating content on LinkedIn. And recently, I started creating content on Substack too, which is called The Data Hassle. It's been great. I've met a lot of amazing people in the past 2 years. So one of you is you. Obviously, I've been following you from past 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to learn from you, and there's a lot I'll be learning.
I'm just gonna put this up real quick. So this is thedatahustle.substack.com. That is gonna be where to follow Sai. Really great writing. I love the newsletter. I read all of them. They're really great. Okay, amazing. So, I mean, I think for you, one of the things that I would say, like whenever I interact with you on LinkedIn, I feel like you're the person on LinkedIn that I know that has the longest name. All right. Right? Like, it's
I can
amazing.
see that. I keep asking my parents why they have put me long name till date.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, I didn't even know someone could have 5 names, like
very common. Just a fun fact: my cousin has around 9 words in his name.
that's dude, like I mean, I feel like there's like, when you like sign up for a website, a lot of them like they're like there's like a 32 character limit. So he literally can't even put his name. Like his name is too long to like even fit in, right? Yeah,
Yes.
and so we can
I've been facing this issue from past 10 years, I would say, from the time I've started writing my board exams from 10th standard. I had to cut my name down, or I would get flagged because my name in passport doesn't match my name in the application. So I had to extra layer of verification every time.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing, man. Like names are freaking wild. It seems like you've been making a name for yourself though. It's like freaking you've like what? You're at like 167K on LinkedIn. How long have you been making content on LinkedIn?
I've started in September 2023. I think, yeah, I started working in June 2023, and 2 months later I started creating content on LinkedIn. So it's gonna be 2 years in few months.
That's such not that much time. like I mean, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. Like what do you think inspired you to start making content?
So there are a few factors that inspired me to start with. During my job search, networking did play an important role during my job search. I think referrals were the most effective ones that got me more interview calls. Then I thought, okay, then I regretted it for a time why I didn't start networking when I started my master's. I started networking at the end of my graduation, which is a semester away. So I wanted that to change for my next job search or whatever it is that's gonna come in my way in the future. And next thing, I had a lot of time outside of my work. I wanted to figure things out, like where I could see. I've seen a lot of people, like say one of few of you, like Zach, you yourself, and then Aishwarya, and then Megan, Jess, Alex, the analyst. I've been following all of you for almost 3 to 4 years. I wanted to see how things are on other side. So I started posting randomly. I mean, when I see those posts right now, I laugh at them sometimes. So when I get started, there was no consistency. The posts were not organized, not structured. But with time, I understood like how big creators were doing, and then I think it's the game of consistency, hard work, and also a lot of creativity. So you need to come up with ideas. You need to stand out. You need to engage with other creators. You need to connect with them. I think these were few things that did push me at start, and then one of the things is being consistent is what really helped me.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. Like, so one of the things I'm jealous about on your resume is that you worked at Lego. How was that? How was working at Lego?
It was really amazing. I got to see fun's other side of Lego. I think all of us have seen other side of Lego, which is like playing with toys and other things. But I've been on the other side, seeing their data, building dashboards, talking with management there, and then I think the experience was really good. And that was the reason why I got this job at Blue Cross. Another fun fact was after I joined Blue Cross, once I got a good rapport with my manager, let's say 3 months after joining, I asked my manager, like, what sparked you in me, or like, why did you hire me? He was like, I loved your work at Lego. That's the reason you're here.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that's amazing. That's amazing, dude. I love Lego. Lego is like, I feel like for me, did you ever, like as a kid, I worked with this thing called Lego Mindstorm, which is like this, like, it's like a little like programmable robot that you have that freaking can like kind of go through and you can do stuff with, right? And so that was definitely something that like I found to be very, 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 very awesome. Like it was like it really sparked my joy for programming and sparked my joy for like just getting all of this working, right? And I mean that's awesome, man. So like one of the things I noticed with you is like you are very passionate about helping people get jobs, right? That's like, I mean, I love. You post a lot of times about like what the actual open jobs are. I feel like one of the things I like about your account is it kind of like, it makes me feel like you're taking LinkedIn to back to like how it was like 5-6 years ago, right? Back in the day, right? When it was like not just meant for like, you know, shit posting and like, you know, making ridiculous comments, right? It's like now like, you're like, no, people are on here to actually get jobs, right? And actually get freaking and understand things. Like, so like, I mean, like, what do you think is the most important things there for like getting a job and like leveraging maybe LinkedIn or other ways of getting a job? Like what have you noticed that's effective?
I think one thing that I've noticed is effective is, as I mentioned, networking. It's not just about what you know these days, but it's also about who knows you and who you know. These matter a lot. I think that's what has helped me a lot. I knew a lot of people I use it at a lot of competitions and hackathons. So where I use it to, I have won few of them, I have lost in few of them. But the most learning part was for me was meeting those people, my fellow competitors or the judges. They were hackathons where hiring managers or recruiters would attend. So I've taken their contacts, stayed in touch with them, followed up with them once in a while with a proper timeline between the multiple messages or emails. I think those are things that really help me a lot in getting more calls. And then the later part depends on your preparation, like number of mock interviews you give, like your experience, how you stand out, how you talk in interview, the impact you have had in previous employers, and all the other important stuff that we're going to discuss later. But that's, and also maybe 5 years before, it was just your resume that might get you a call. Let's say me when at Meta or Netflix, you had a good resume, you had good previous employee or good experience, you get a call. But right now, resume isn't just enough. Employers are going through your LinkedIn or your socials before your interviews, so your visibility matters. And again, you don't have to be a content creator or you don't have to be influencer to get more calls, but start little, maybe post your certifications. You took a boot camp from Zuck or any other boot camp, post your learnings. So share your little learnings, share your small.
I love that. That's like, I love that so much. That's like, well, I've noticed, you know, I've done 8 boot camps now. And like one of the things I really encourage people to do right at the beginning, right on day one, is I'm like, if you guys want to actually get a job from this and have this actually change your life, just post every day about what you learned and do it for the whole boot camp. So post 40 times, right? And I promise you, like at the end of it, you will be much, much better at your freaking writing skills. You'll be better at writing. And there's even a chance that like, that's what's going to build your brand up and get you the role and get you the visibility that you need to get like other people to even become aware that you exist so that you can get these roles. And so it's like, okay, if that's the case, then freaking we might as well go on from that, you know? And that's like definitely learn in public of everything that you just said there. So I think learn in public is the one that I'm the most, because I do, for me, I think one of the things that helps me build my brand a lot is I do build in public, which is the same sort of thing. It's just, I'm very transparent about my business and what I do and like how things work and like how much money I make and like what's working, what's not working, what's, and all of that stuff is all part of the kind of the journey of this, you know, of the process of like building this company and all this stuff is like, because I know people want that hope and people want that like visibility, right? They want to like connect with people who are doing cool things. So Definitely.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Learn in public, build in public, showcase your build skills in public.
Yep.
Maybe once you graduate from the boot camp, you might find a new path of being a creator. That might be a byproduct of your posting regularly for 40 days. So you can just start small. It doesn't have to be structured, organized, but you will get there with time. So
Yep.
try to stand out as much as you can when you have the chance. So there are people out there cheering for you. So might get to meet a lot of people during the boot camp and outside of boot camp when you start building in public and showcasing in public.
Yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are on like overcoming that, right? Because I think a lot of people they don't post because they worry that like, oh, I don't have something that's worth sharing, or like, you know, I don't have the expertise yet, or like I care too much about what will, you know, my brother's ex-girlfriend think, or, you know, whatever, you know, different, you know, potential you know, hesitations that they might have with posting. Like, do you have any, you know, thoughts or opinions on like ways that you can kind of maybe overcome those voices that kind of hold you back?
Yes, I've been there, faced that, like when I was starting out, even now. So it's just that I would just recommend hit starting post. You will get there. So you'll even now a lot of, I mean, you will get a lot of hate comments. I get a lot of sometimes negative comments and hate comments. It's part of our life at the moment, and you will get used to it. So a lot of times when you start posting, you will see other side of yourself. I didn't know I could do a podcast like this with Zuck or any other podcast that I was on before, but I figured out that I had this skill when I started putting myself out there. So I was an introvert, to be honest. 2 years ago, when I was not a content creator, I couldn't even make new friends. I was all stick with my friends from my bachelor's and master's. But when I started writing, putting myself out there, I had to come out of my comfort zone. I had to do something that I was not aware of, and I had to do something that I didn't know that skill existed in me. So when you start putting yourself out there, you will find your hidden skills from you which you didn't even know that existed. So start putting yourself out there. You will lose people, but you'll also get new people in your life, which can be your co-founder or a good friend of you who will have for life. So it's always a trade-off. You will lose people and you will get people, but it's always, you need to find the balance between those. Is this person really worth losing, or is it person really worth collaborating with, or like learning with, or making a friendship with? Maybe you might find your life partner if at all everything goes well. So there are a lot of advantages to it, but there's always disadvantages to it too. So it's again like a test, like A/B test or something, that if I could put it in data words. So you test it out there, you figure out if it's good path or not, but just hit that post button, give it some time, like 3 to 4 months solid, and then you will see other side of yourself.
Yeah. I mean, you know what's so crazy for me? Did you ever take Myers-Briggs, like the personality test?
Not yet, but I'm planning to.
Okay, so Myers-Briggs like is you know, it gives you like that 4-letter code or whatever, and it's actually pretty consistent. It's pretty consistent. And for me, like up until 2021, right, I was INTJ, which is like the mastermind archetype, right? But content creation and like consistently putting my words out there literally changed my personality. So now, like instead of being INTJ, I'm ENTJ. Like it's made me significantly more extroverted and more like willing and brave to share my opinions and just put myself out there. And like it's like at the end of the day, like that's like what that's what's necessary. Like here's a perspective for y'all that I think is very, very, very important to think about. Like if you are on the fence about creating content or building a personal brand, is okay. Think about AI in 30 years. Okay. In 30 years, not in 3 years, in 30 years. Right. Okay. 30 years from now, right? AI is going to be doing a lot.
Everything, probably
Everything. Right. But there's something very interesting about building a personal brand, is that like AI is not going to be me. Right. And so I even think in 30 years, personal brands might be the only thing left. It might be it. I think it's going to be personal brands and art. And that's it. That's like what's left. Right. And then AI does everything else. Right. And so like there's a side of it that's like, okay, like if you're building a personal brand, like that's like one of the very few things that I view as completely untouchable by AI. Right. Obviously AI can compete. Right. I'm sure you've seen those like AI, like girlfriend brands and those AI, like, you know, different like brands out there that like that stuff is freaking crazy. That stuff's really crazy. And that's definitely, they can compete with you, but they can't be you. And so it's like, if you go and build the trust like early on, especially right now when like it's very clear like what is AI and what's not AI, because of like AI still kind of sucks, right? It still kind of sucks a little bit.
Exactly.
But like I do think that that's like really, if you're thinking about things very, very, very long term, I think it would be foolish to not build a personal brand, because it's like, I don't know, like it's one of the few things that I can guarantee will still be here, right?
Exactly.
I can't guarantee data engineering will be here. I can't guarantee data analytics will be here. I can't guarantee even software engineering is going to be here, right? But personal branding will be.
Exactly. I think it's like Bitcoin way back in 2010, like where none of us believed Bitcoin was going to be this huge.
Yeah.
Right now, it's the time for you to build the foundation for your personal brand. 10 years down the line, you might have to regret that.
Yeah.
I wish I had started creating content or building my personal brand when I was at 2025.
Yeah.
So don't be in that state 10 years down the line or 30 years down the line.
Yeah. Might as well start now. And it's like, so like, I don't know, like I think one of the things that I think a lot of people think about with this is that like, it has to be like you have to like go all in, right? Or you have to like, it's like, I mean, I don't know, like the way I did it, right? When I started December 2020. December 2020 is when I started building my brand. And my thing was, I'm going to spend 15 minutes a day writing about data engineering. All right. Can you commit 15 minutes a day? Like, I don't know. That's like, it's so little. Can you just like watch Netflix? Can you watch like one less Netflix episode and write? And that's the only difference. And you can still watch 4 hours a day of Netflix. Like, I'm not saying like make a gigantic, huge, massive sacrifice in order to build your brand. No, just spend just a little bit of time, just a little bit of time. Right. And like, and you will, as long as you're consistent about it, it will compound. Right. That's the trade for sure. I mean,
exactly. I think all of us started small. Like you need to start small, spend 15 minutes a day. And then with time, when you see the results are popping up, and then the growth will be exponential at a time. Like when you give it 3 to 4 months, the growth will be exponential. And then you might have to give it extra time, but you know, the results are going to be awesome. The ROI is going to be exponential. So start small, but make sure you're consistent. Don't go after results when you just started.
100%.
Like all of us started small.
100%. Totally agree with that. I think that like you got to be able to just like go through that. Like, so I'm curious what your thoughts are on like people trying to get their first job. So obviously getting like, there's this idea of like, you need to get the interview, right? Which we've been talking about here. It's like, okay, have like, what do you think about resume? What should people be doing with resume? Because resume is another very important part of like the interviewing funnel, right?
Yeah. So a lot of things that I've seen a lot of resumes in past 2 years. I see resumes where they say built a churn prediction model. That's all. I built a pipeline. That's all. I made a dashboard. But no, that's not what employees want to listen. They want to see the impact of what you have done. You built a dashboard. How did that help business make millions of dollars? You built a pipeline. Did it save time? Did it make the process efficiently? Did you save millions of dollars with the compute power? You built a prediction model. Let's say you increase the retention rate, reduce the churn rate by 20%, which converted to $10 million. That's what employees want to see. That's what is the missing piece in most resumes. They have done amazing projects. They have amazing experience, but employees care about impact. It's not just about what you have done, but also impact of what you have done.
Yeah, it's like, because if you're not caring about impact, like it's like, because it's like, I don't know, like I think both are important. It's like, because there's two types of metrics that you need to care about. Like one is measuring what you did. And I think people are actually pretty good about that. They're like, I built 7 dashboards, I wrote 15 pipelines, and in a partridge in a pear tree or whatever, right? And but like the outcome side of it, the outcome tracking side of it is the side that I think is where people kind of get hung up. And sometimes like it can be tricky because I mean, I definitely feel like this is more tricky in my perspective for data analytics than it is for data engineering. Because I think data engineering, like there's a lot more just like measurable impact that you can just like pull from very easily. But like data analytics sometimes is like, I ran an analysis and I discovered a bug, or like I ran an analysis and that's it. And then it's like, okay, but maybe you can estimate these things, right? I ran an analysis, I discovered a bug that impacts 27% of users and resolved it within this amount of time. And it improved the user experience this much, right? So like, if you can like think about things like in that mindset, because you want both, right? You have like your leading metrics, which is like what you did, what work did you do? And then the lagging metrics, which are what are the outcomes of the work that you did, right? And then together, that is like how you really like kind of get to a resume that's going to freaking really pop and really get people like wanting to like call you back. Right. So here's a good one for you. What about people with no experience?
Yeah, that's a good one. I have been there. So as I mentioned, I was a fresher before I got into Blue Cross. So few things that really help me or that will help you or having your personal projects. And don't just put another Titanic project or Iris dataset or Boston River dataset in your resume.
I will boo you. If you have Iris dataset in your resume, I will boo you. All right. I will straight up send you a LinkedIn DM that says boo. All right.
Employers, hiring managers, they've seen hundreds or thousands of times from past decade or two. So that can be a red flag these days. Even in 2025, where everything is AI driven. So if you still use Titanic, Iris, that's a big red flag. So start solving real problems. Like I know your journey. You have built an app with 50,000 users. That's a way to set yourself apart from the competition. I'm not saying you to build an app, but find ways to stand out. Like maybe for me, what helped was, as I mentioned, competitions. I did participate in Humanic competition, Travelers competition, like there are a few more. And then I did participate in a lot of hackathons. And I was not after money. The Lego internship that I did, it was not paid. It was unpaid. But it did help me get this full-time job at Blue Cross. So when you're starting out, at least for freshers like me, where I have been there, so do not go after money, go after learning, go after experience, go after people. Money will be the byproduct after you're learning from the boot camp or after you're learning from an internship or unpaid, be it paid or unpaid. So do a lot of projects. Start with business problem. Use different tech stack that you would use in industry, and don't just build everything in one tool. Like show that it's not how it's going to be in industry. You would use different set of tools: Python, SQL, Spark, Airflow, DBT, Snowflake. Try to integrate multiple tools in one project so you can build end to end. That sets you apart in competition. And make sure that it's organized. Have a GitHub profile. Start with README and your problem statement. Obviously, your storytelling if it's data analytics, and you have other metrics for data science and data engineering, and end with storytelling impact. So don't do 10 or 20 small projects. Do 2 to 3 solid projects, like a capstone project. Like I think your bootcamp has one capstone project.
Yeah.
So do it end to end. Show what you can bring on the table. That's gonna set you apart from people who do 20 projects or 30 projects or 50 certifications.
Yeah. But it's not like, I mean, I made that joke one time on LinkedIn. I was like, when you learn your 7th programming language, that's when a level 7 engineering job at Google lands in your lap, right? But it's like, no, like it's like you want to like have depth, right? I think a good example here is like, so for me, right, I got in at Meta. Meta is like one of the hardest companies to get into. And when I got in at Meta, I was the only person in the whole company. Keep on 40,000 people in this company. I was the only person in the company from my college, the only one. And so like I was like, okay, what did I do differently? How did I get into Meta? Like given that like Meta doesn't hire from my university. They don't. I didn't go to Stanford. And so I had just a phenomenal capstone. I had a phenomenal project that was also making money, right? So I built an Android application that got up to 50,000 monthly active users. It's crazy. Still today, it's the application. It still has more users than Data Expert. It's still like, I mean, I'm like, how did I do it? I don't know. There's a side of it where I'm like, I really crushed it back then, like, 10 years ago. And so that project is what I talked about when I was interviewing at Meta. And they were like, holy shit, this guy is freaking, this guy is doing a lot of goodness here, right? He's doing a lot of really powerful work here. And so like, if that's the case, like you want to be able to like talk about that, because here's the thing. Like most people will work on a project for literally 2 weeks and then they give up and then they're done. And then they work on another project and they work on another project and then they have 20 projects and they're all awful. Right. And the thing is like, if you work on a project for 2 months, you are already in the top 5%. Right. Because most people are going to give up after 2 weeks or 3 weeks. The bar is on the floor. Can you work on something every weekend for 8 weekends? Can you do that? If you can, then you are freaking already going to get a job. Like you already have already changed your mindset in such a significant way that the universe is going to give you a job. Right. And so it's amazing. And so like
just to add on that, the only thing you need is 1 or 2 solid projects. Make sure And when you do it out of passion, you have talking points in your interviews, so
Yep.
you don't have to jumble between one project and another project. You have one project to talk about, you start from end to end, and then you have something to talk about during your interviews because you're passionate. You don't
Yep.
have to prepare much, whereas the other way, you need to prepare. You need to maybe buy a few metrics. Now you know that you're passionate, you have done this, you're putting your work for 8 weeks, you're good to go, and you're in top 5% as Jack mentioned.
Yeah. Okay, this is a good one. Just bring in Rohit here. It says, what could be some projects for experienced DBAs out of work? I would lean into data engineering. I would pick up some Python, pick up Airflow, pick up some Python, write a data pipeline that, like, I don't know, like scrapes the internet and does something interesting, right? Or like predicts the weather, or like, I don't know. There's a lot of, like, there's so many different things that you could build. I don't think that, like, I would lean. I think DBA is on the way out. I think DBA is like that's kind of a dying role a little bit. So like I would definitely lean into a new role, like either a data analyst or a data engineer, probably data engineer, maybe data scientist if like you want to go a little bit more analytical. But like definitely I would shift away from DBA. Okay, you're saying what platform you recommend for showcasing?
GitHub, simple.
Yep. I mean, and then maybe like this is where like I like full stack better in some ways, Sai, is that like, because one of the things that's nice about full stack is that like you can also send a link. Right. You can like be like, here is my app. It's alive. Right. And I think that was like when I was interviewing at Meta, I was like, download my app. You can download it. You can play with it. You can like you can touch and feel my work. Right. It's not just like looking at the code, but you can actually also touch and feel it. Like that's where like I would recommend. So GitHub is great, but if you're doing data work, I would also recommend some sort of visualization tool. Like this is where I do like Tableau Public. I love Tableau Public, where it's like, so you do all the gnarly data pipeline work, and then you create a very fancy data set, and then you plug that data set into a dashboard, and then that dashboard displays some interesting results. And then if you do that, you would freaking do great, right?
Yeah.
So,
just at that point, while you're building your GitHub, make sure to post your learnings, or your when you start building, like for the 8 weeks. So showcase your learnings for every week. Like what was it before? Where is it right now? Where you're gonna, like, what's your vision for this project? So build in public again. So that's what's gonna get you a job more than what your resume says.
That's amazing. That's amazing, man. Like, I mean, like, so what about networking? I feel like one of the things that happens for me every single day of my entire life, and probably happens for you every single day of your entire life, is I get a stupid freaking LinkedIn DM that says, hey, can you refer me to, for me, I get, hey, can you refer me to Netflix? And then like, sometimes I just don't respond to these messages, but in my mind, I'm like, first off, like, I have not worked for Netflix in 5 years, right? Right. So it's like, yeah, I just have like, I just have a massive network. And second off, like, I don't even know who you are. Like why the hell should I give you a referral? Right. And so it's like, what are your thoughts on like referrals and networking, and kind of like, maybe, because obviously we talked about content creation as a way to kind of build your brand, but there's also this like on the ground, like one-on-one kind of stuff that you can do as well. Like what are some strategies that you think there that you can build to like land a role more effectively?
Yeah, networking, for especially for people who are pursuing their masters, I'll start with that, or like people who are still studying. You have career phase from university. Employers come to your universities to hire you, or at least to give you an interview call. That's where you would start. And then the next step I would recommend is your alumni network. So use your alumni network, go to your university page, find people, connect with them, and never do. I would highly recommend you start networking when you are not desperate for a job, because when you are desperate for a job, you would need people to reply as soon as possible, which is not going to happen. People have other priorities, or people might be busy, or he or she might be a person who doesn't want you to refer. So find a network when you're not desperate. And the next thing I would say is conferences. This is for anyone, be it a fresher or experienced person or anything. Attend conferences like, say, Grasshopper conference, or there are few other conferences too that happen. I think if you're in San Francisco, or like, say, New York, heart of all these cities are like very known for networking, startup culture, and other cities, other things. So go to conferences. And when you text people, make sure that you give value before. So never expect a person. I've been there, done that mistake. Before I give the advice, I've been there, done that, learned it the hard way, and realized that this is not how it needs to be done. So try to give value before you ask for something. So it's always give, and then maybe after a few times you get something. So it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. So few things: start with career phase, alumni network, conferences, engage with people's content, so build your visibility. Again, it all ties back to, it's not just about what you know, but who you know and who knows you.
Like for example, I just want to give some examples here. Like there's people in my network on LinkedIn, right, who they engaged consistently with my content for like 2 years, all right? And then they hit me up in the DMs and they're like, "Hey Zach, I want to join your boot camp." And like I already love this person because it's like, bro, like I have seen you like hundreds of my posts, right? And it's like, I know who you are. You have given me so much value already. And a lot of times I just let them in for free.
Exactly.
I'm just like, here, you're in, right? And it's like, where it's like, that's the number one thing in business overall, right? Is give first, ask second, right? And it's like, that's true for getting a job, also running a business. Like that's why, like, you know, it's one of the reasons why I can run a multi-million-dollar business on LinkedIn is because I've been giving people free knowledge and free value for 5 years, right? And it's like every single day, just showing up. Here's more value. Here, change your life. Here, change things other, you know, all the different things, right? And see, Jenny's over here like, I'm engaging right now. Yes, you are, 100%. We're gonna get, we're getting you some, you know, extra golden stars for Jenny right now. Let's go. Okay.
Exactly.
I mean,
I've seen you giving a lot of value, even with the free YouTube bootcamp have been there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think it's game changer for data engineering folks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's good. Like, so, I mean, what are your goals with the data hustle? What are you trying to do with your brand now that you have this, like, you know, megaphone?
To be honest, I haven't thought about it. I haven't given it a thought where I am seeing it right now, maybe 5 years down the line. Maybe if everything works out, I can become like you if everything goes well. But
Yep.
this is not the plan for now. Being an immigrant, I do have to deal with visa stuff and other stuff.
H1B, bro. Yeah.
So that's something. But before I figure out any solid plan, but I do have plans of starting my Instagram and YouTube channel 2026.
Yeah.
So that's the plan. But until then, I'll be building my LinkedIn and then Substack and
Yeah.
then see where it goes. I'm always open to collaborations, conferences, podcasts. So
I'm gonna give you some advice on stream right now. All right. So for me right now, like, you know, about 50% of my audience is LinkedIn, and then 50% of my audience is like everywhere else. And for me, like, I find writing just to be so much better. Like, I don't know, like I'm not as much of like, you know, I've done some reels, I've done some TikToks, right? And like, I mean, don't do TikTok, dude. Just don't do TikTok. Like, TikTok is a waste of time, dude. It's like, freaking, I have 80K on TikTok. All right. 80K on TikTok. And I have made 2 sales. All right. 2. Right. And I'm like, come on, guys. Like, come on. Like, you guys are just like, you guys have no money. Right. And so like, and so like, I would say one of the things that you want to be thinking about, like, is when you're kind of in this journey is like, I would say LinkedIn, I would say Threads, I would say Twitter, I would say Substack, because at the end of the day, there's really 3 to 4 art forms that you want to be thinking about, where like you have one art form that you've already nailed, right? Which is like short form text. Short form text you have nailed, right? Yeah, and you can do that. You can do that LinkedIn, Twitter, Threads, right? Boom, right? Then now you're going long form text, which is Substack, which is great. And then you have the other ones. You have short form video, which is like YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram. And then you have a long form video, which is like regular YouTube, right? And then you have extremely long form video where you go live for 24 hours, right?
If you add on that, Jack, you're an outlier. Probably top point,
Yes.
not 1 percentile.
Yes, 100%. YouTube doesn't even let you do that. Like you can only go 12. It doesn't let you. It will let you go live for as long as you want, but it will only store the recording for 12 hours. It will not. So that's why I'm doing 4. But LinkedIn only lets you go live for 4 hours, so that's why we're splitting it up. But I mean, so that's cool, man. I think that like you're gonna find a lot of value there. I mean, like, so I guess when you're thinking about, I guess a lot of people are interested about AI. I mean, we've been talking tons about AI in this whole. I mean, that's what this whole marathon is about. Is just like helping people like understand what the hell's going on with AI. And so what I'm curious from your perspective is, what should data analysts be doing? What should they be doing in terms of AI, like in terms of like getting ahead of the game?
So I typically use AI at my work. I'm not going to deny that it has improved my productivity by at least 3 to 5x. So if you're not using AI, you're losing a lot on your plate. I mean, you're spending a lot more time than you should. So start incorporating AI in your workflow. I use Copilot for a few use cases with Power Automate or say Power BI reports, writing DAX functions. I give it a use case, but I make sure that I'm in the loop. I'm not going to replace myself. So I know the syntax, I know what I need, I know the metrics that I need to build. I just make the AI do the work. And then I cross check it, I make sure double check it, and then I put it in dashboard. And then I use Python for data cleaning. But let's say I want to build a visualization, I'm not going to write matplotlib code or cborn code and then give it x-axis title or y-axis title. I let the AI do the work. So I also use it for brainstorming. Let's say what kind of graphs I need to build with the stakeholders requirement. So what kind of metrics that I can work on, what else can I do, what else can I do to give more value to the team, to the company, to the stakeholders, to build my visibility. And obviously documentation is such a pain, so that's something that I do. Or writing emails, documentation, you have done a project end to end, but if someone were to join your team or you were to leave and someone were to replace your job, it shouldn't be pain for them. So make sure you have documentation for everything. So that's where I use AI again. So documenting my multiple projects that I care as a lead data analyst, and then giving work to the people that report to me. So that's something that I use AI. And obviously don't replace yourself. Make sure that you're in the loop and then use it wisely, and make sure to double check it before you productionize it.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm with you on that. And it's just like, I think a lot of this stuff is just like coming back to like, just use ChatGPT every day. Use ChatGPT every day. Like, I mean, like it's very good. It's very good. Like it's one of those things that like is just giving you knowledge. So I heard you mention that you lead a team. I see on your LinkedIn here, it says led a team of 3 to optimize data transformation workloads using AWS S3 Glue and Athena. Right. What I know there's also analysts and engineers in this call who want to be a manager. What do you think? Like, how did you get to there? How did you get to this manager role where you have like you're telling people what to do now? And how did you like? What do you think makes a good analytics manager?
So just add on that, like not their manager yet. I just lead team of 3, so probably team lead, I would say. So how did I get there? I think it was probably because of my Lego and all my competitions and hackathons. When I was doing these competitions and hackathons, I was leading my teams, those teams for the competitions, like which a team of 4 or 5. And even during the Lego, I was lead for this team of 5 people. And I was also president of data analytics club back at UConn, so I had some experience there. So I put myself out there during the interviews. I told my current manager that I have done these things, I can do this again. So you want to show them that you have done that, you can do it again. But the first part was luck, where I got the interview call for the lead role, which I was not expecting at all. But since I got the call, I wanted to give my 101%. So I stood out. And then what I did was, when I got the job description, I remember doing this. I would recommend doing this to anyone. When you see job description, try to make a slide or 2 on how you can help this team grow. You can see what the problem that they're facing, what they're looking in this candidate. So I typically make a slide or 2 slides in every interview, and then I take permission. Can I share my screen? I tell them how I would tackle this problem. Or if you don't know the problem that they're facing, you have recruiter. They are your best friend in your whole process. Ask the recruiter what will be my role or what you're gonna solve once they hire someone. Get the problem statement, share how you will solve, or how you will save money, or how you will save time. And then I literally do this for every interview. So I make a slide or 2. This is what tools I would use, this is why I choose this tool over this tool, and how I can be helpful to your team and this project. So that set me apart in few interviews. Obviously there are other factors where there can be experienced person or knowledgeable person which are out of my control or your control. But from the control that you have, make sure you put in 101% to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah. How do you get that extra 1%? Like,
that's where you showcase your impact. So few people using star framework or different frameworks. So don't just say I build churn prediction model. Say I build churn prediction model using these models. I increase retention rate, reduce churn rate, which save company $10 million. So and this is that's what employees want to hear. You don't want to tell them what you know. You want to tell them what they want to hear. So that's what will set you apart. And showcase your leadership skills, showcase that you are open to learn, showcase that you're adaptable. So all these things do matter. And then your collaboration work, and during coding interviews, when you get a SQL question, people start coding right away with CTE or select star from table 1, table 2. start asking questions. So it's not a one-way interview, it's always two-way. So you can ask interview a lot of questions too. It's always going to be two-way street. So ask a lot of impactful questions, curious questions about success of the role, what's going to be the project that I'll be working, or what is something that project that they are facing difficulty in, and research about company. So read their recent blogs, articles, let them know that you have read the article, let them know that you have gone through their financial reports. So it's not enough that you read them, but it's also as important as that they should know that you read them. So at the end of the interview, make sure you add questions or ask questions, and even during your coding interviews, at the end make a story out of it, or consider edge cases, so null values or outliers, missing values, or
Mhm.
let them know that if this data was in millions, I would add index on this column X, and then I would put it in a CTE instead subquery. So make sure that you think about these loud and let them know how you think. Your thought process matters more than your crisp answer.
Yeah, don't like always and this is a thing that's beautiful in data engineering in particular, is if you map out your assumptions about the data, guess what that gives you? That gives you the data quality checks.
Exactly.
Like, it gives you, it's just automatic. So I have just like, I don't know. I look at your resume and I'm like, dude, this guy just like was like, okay, he's like, I worked at Lego for a couple months, lead analyst. Like, I don't know, like there's like it feels like, I mean, so the 2 years you've been at Blue Cross, have you been, like you were a lead analyst the whole time?
Yep, I started lead data analyst, but I only lead 2 interns and full time. So interns come and go, right? Like they're not full timers, and one full timer. So
I mean, it's still goated, man. I mean, I'm just trying to say, like, it's kind of like being like, okay, I worked somewhere for 3 months, senior data engineer. You know, like it's just like, you know, like it's like you're like, what about the junior and mid level? It's like, nah, like we don't need those levels, dude. Like we can just jump right to the lead. Like, I mean, that's really amazing, man. Like, I mean, like so when you were building up your soft skills, right, of like how to, you know, interact with people to like become a lead and be able to do this stuff, like obviously like you had these kind of leadership positions in college and you had these kind of different spaces to like grow, because at the end of the day, like I really do think AI is going to actually make soft skills even louder. It's going to make the whole idea of like, can you interact with people even louder? And like how do you go about developing your soft skills? How do you go about like, you know, getting better at that? Because I think learning coding is easy because it's like go practice, but it's like, how do you practice your soft skills?
So coming to soft skills, I listen to a few podcasts, be it technical or non-technical, sometimes business oriented or entrepreneurial oriented. That's something that I did. And during my job, because I started as lead position, that was difficult for me. But my manager is pretty good, like how your manager was. So he's very supportive. For first few months, he was always there for me in every meeting. So I used to learn from him. And even now, when I need him, he's always there. So I think that's very important. When at least in your early career you need a good manager and your good team. I get to work with C-suite, so they're also pretty, I mean, I never felt that they were executives, so they're all like just another employee. So they gave me that freedom to talk out loud, express my ideas. So whenever I had ideas, they were always open to hear. They never told me don't open yourself, or they were always like, ask questions, come up with ideas, let us know if you have something in mind. So recently I found out, when I was making a dashboard, I found out a metric was going down, and then I told them I have this idea of building this model and then making more money for us. And then I made a 10 slide, and then I presented to my director, manager, and VP, and they approved it. And that's what made me set apart, I guess, even at work. So come up with, I mean, you see a lot of data, you know, you're analyzing, and then you found something that metric has been going down. Okay, now you have your AI best friend, like ask it what can be done, what are other companies doing about this metric when there's a drop. So there's nothing to embarrass about. The AI is not going to judge you, so you can be yourself, ask yourself any question that you have, come with ideas, and see if it's really feasible or not at industry level or at an enterprise level. Set yourself apart. And these are the few things that really helped me, like watching a lot of podcasts and obviously practicing out there, in front of mirror, or going to conferences, talking there with meeting fellow people, going to random events in meetup.com, and then find people, talk there, and networking events, career fairs. So at the early stage, I think these are the things that really helped me. But I think there are a lot of things that I need to do with
Yeah,
time.
I mean, I definitely recommend all of those things. Putting yourself out there, freaking training up those skills, getting better at interacting with people, all of that stuff is going to kind of compound and build up to a point where like it will make you feel more confident and more at ease with your own self, right? Because then like, and then you'll be able to more confidently assert your ideas. And that's like where there is kind of a relationship between some of this stuff where it's like, okay, if you're more confident with people and you're having better interactions with people, then you're more likely to share your thoughts. And then like there's this whole idea of like being a thought leader, right? Because you need to be able to lead people's thoughts and lead people in the right direction to like where things are going. And like and if you're too, I don't know, introverted or too I don't know, like too like, you know, in your own head, right? You're not going to share, and that's going to cause you to have less impact over the you know the your career, right? And so this stuff is like keeping in mind that like from my perspective, this is the stuff that's actually some of the most important stuff that you need to learn in order to like AI proof your role, right? And all that stuff. 100%.
I was about to add that point too. Like it's with the rise in AI, your technical skills can be replaced, but your soft skills cannot be replaced. If your role is stakeholder facing, you're safe. Well, like comparatively, you're safer than a person who's just coding all day. And they might have impact, but your visibility matters. Be it at work or outside your work, your soft skills, your communication, the people you know, all these things are the things that make your job layoff proof or whatever proof that you're gonna have in future.
So we got an interesting comment from Chris Perry. He's like, I reviewed a few hundred applications for a recent Tableau developer role. And, you know, the guy who had the Tableau public profile is the guy who got hired, right? So it just goes to show, like, if you have, like, an actual portfolio piece, that's going to give you a massive competitive advantage. So we want to open it up here for probably, like, one, maybe two questions for Sai before we go on our first break for lunch. And then we will be back here in about 15 minutes. But definitely down to, you know, field one or two questions here in the meantime. I guess Mohammed has a good one here. What are a few projects you would suggest as a fresher?
Yep. As I mentioned, do not rely on Kaggle projects or the other ones. Try building a capstone project end to end, and then build it public. So that's what will gonna be set. I wouldn't say any data set name or something, but if you have passion, go find data on it or scrape from web. Like everything has been with the AI, scraping has become very easier than it was before. Like than few years or few months ago. Like every day I see a new tool for replacing every part of data analysis or data, not replacing it, but at least making your work easier. So if there's a passion, find data on it, build something that's useful for industry level, and use real world examples. And make sure to start with problem, but not with solution.
Okay, Deepak, this is probably our last one. Deepak has a good question. He's like, hello, both of you. How can I be well prepared, and what you think does Gen AI is must needed skill or just with, and how can I stand out even with against experienced candidates? I guess you got it. I think
the only thing that's gonna set you apart is upskilling yourself. So if there are people with better knowledge than you or better experience, better projects than you, employers are gonna choose them. So make sure to put in efforts to upskill every day. Like Zach mentioned, 15 minutes for content creation, 1 hour for upskilling, maybe 1 hour for project. So be consistent in what you do. With time you will get there. And for you, since you're coming to masters, start networking early. That's the mistake that I have made, and that I still till date I regret of not networking. When I started my masters, I started when I was desperate for a job. So that's one thing that led me to creating content. I want to build my network while I'm not desperate for job. Now we are not desperate for job. Go for it. Put in all your efforts. Network, learn, upskill, connect with people, build in public.
Amazing. Yeah, that's exactly what Jenny's saying here. Build publicly. Boom.
Yep.
Amazing. So the last letter of the discount code is Y, and it looks like there's like about two left here for the discount code.
I've been seeing people have been guessing the code already.
yeah, right. They're like, what's going on here? People are like, what's going on? Like, freaking, yeah, you can definitely get in for a really good deal if you have been following along for the last 4 hours.
Exactly.
Right? And you deserve it for all your hard work, you know. Amazing. So that discount code should be valid for about the next 15-20 minutes and then I will go and make a new one for the next 4 hours. So y'all can go ahead with that. But thank you so much, Sai. I really appreciate you showing up today. I need to take about a 10-minute breather, and we will be back here at 1 o'clock and 4 p.m. Your time. So anyways, have a good time, everyone.
Have a good one. All the best, Jack. I'll be coming up in again other following sessions to check on you.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah, I'm gonna slowly die, right?